Thing open here.
So it's not free.
Okay, looks like Zoom's on. Everybody's here. All right? Not yet. Okay. Good evening, everyone. It is 6:02 p.m. Welcome to the Morgan Hill Unified School District Board of Education meeting, our theme study session for May, available both in person on Zoom. Calling us to order. Student Board Member Latin will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to item C, introductions of board members and staff. We can start with Trustee Altman and come around the table, please.
Good evening and welcome, Nancy Altman, Trustee, Area 1.
Good evening, welcome Pamela Gardner, Trustee Area Number 4.
Good evening, Jennifer Marquez, Trustee and Clerk, Area 5.
Good evening, Sarah Northrop Gaddis, Trustee, Area 3, and Board Vice President.
Good evening again, everyone. John Horner, Trustee and Board President.
Good evening, Carmen Garcia, Superintendent. I'd like to address our Spanish-speaking community. A nuestra comunidad de habla hispana tenemos traducción simultánea. Por favor, hagan clic en el icono del mundo debajo de la pantalla. Gracias por estar con nosotros.
Good evening, Claudia Estrada, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent.
Good evening, Rebecca Watkins, Student Board Member.
Good evening, happy Friday, Junior. Veronica Andrade, Trustee, Area 7.
Good evening, Rebecca Munson, Trustee, Area 6.
Good evening, Kavara Chang, Assistant Superintendent of Business.
Hello, everyone. I'm Diana Taveras, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
Very good. Thank you, everyone. And thank you those in the room and on Zoom for joining us. We will move to item D, adoption of the agenda. Do we have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda? It's time for motions. I'm not sure what you're saying.
Would like to, and sorry I wasn't able to email you this, but I would like to move the consent item 1A. Well, actually, I'd like to table that for future because on the cross-reference links to the board policy code, they don't open. And it gives you an error code saying you do not have permission to view this policy. So I'd like to submit this item be tabled for a future board meeting so we can in fact
We can
provide those links.
let's discuss that when we get to the consent calendar, if that's all right.
Okay. And then what about the same thing for the, yeah, I guess the general business would be the same thing when we get to that. Okay. No, okay, then, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, so I know you want to keep things moving along, but this is important. General business for board discussion, I would like to move item G after public comment and before communication, possibly. I'd like to move it up because I'd like to be able to have the community here. This is a big deal. This is a $335 million bond, and I like it to be discussed when people aren't tired, end of the meeting, they've dropped off, they've gone home, et cetera. Hold on, sorry, guys.
So I must say, it's very disruptive at the very last minute, moving items around on the agenda. We have a lot of plans as far as who's going when, so I'm not even sure exactly what your request is. And
I want to move it up. I want to move it up to earlier in the evening.
You want to
And I
move
also
what
would-
up?
J3, J3. And I also want to have a discussion about it. So however you want to figure that out on your end as far as pulling it for conversation and then potentially moving it up.
Well, okay, item J3 will be discussed when we're on that item.
Okay.
So there's no question about discussing an item that's already up for discussion.
So I move that we approve the agenda as sent.
Do we have a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as currently scheduled. Apparently, there's some questions about that, so I'll ask for a roll call vote on approving the agenda as submitted.
So do you know when you would want to move it?
Yeah, I was saying that. I would like to move it to after
We
public
have a
comment.
motion and a second. So there's a motion and a second and a vote on the table. I mean, you can vote no and we'll see what happens, but
Roll call vote. President Horner,
aye.
Vice President Northrop Gaddis,
Aye.
Clerk Marquez, Trustee Gardner,
No.
Trustee Altman,
I'll go no until I find out what the plan is.
Trustee Munson,
I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
Trustee Andrade.
Aye.
Okay, so the agenda is adopted as published. We will continue moving on. You can bring up your concerns about the consent when we get there. Item E, closed session action report. There's nothing to report from closed session. Item F, recognition of the site teachers of the year and district teacher of the year and honorees. Dr. Garcia will introduce this item.
Thank you, President Horner. It is my honor to introduce Kiwi Gwen. He is our president of Morgan Hill Federation of Teachers, who will introduce our site teachers of the year and our district-wide teacher of the year.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I did. Yeah. Okay, great. I get the fun part today. Is it on? Is it on?
No. Your voice just carries.
Oh, thank you. Did you hear my voice pop one?
Teacher voice.
Is it on now?
Use mine.
All right.
It's on.
Use mine.
Okay, all right. Now I have 3 microphones. Okay, thank you, Carmen.
You're very important.
I know. So what I would like to do is, if I call your name and you're present, I'm going to read a blurb that our site reps have written about you, and then later on we're going to have a group picture, and then I think we're going to call for a break. Yes, is that the plan?
Sorry?
We're going to call for a break. Yes, and then
Yes,
okay,
yes.
great. Okay, so I'm going to announce the ones who I know are here. If I didn't see you, if you come in, that's totally my fault. But there's no particular order. I just pull it up as is. So the first one I would like to call up is PA Walsh, Jessica Goldberg. Come on up. You're going to stand here while I read so many nice things about you. Is that okay? Okay. Okay, so Jessica not only excels in the classroom, but also serves as a support for her colleagues and leader on our campus. Jessica is an exceptional educator. She creates a foundation of academic, linguistic, and cultural fluency for our youngest learners. Jessica is a supportive mentor. She provides guidance and coaching to our newest team members, helping them to feel welcomed and empowering them to be successful. Jessica is a pillar of our bilingual program. She demonstrates unwavering commitment to it by fostering collaborative partnerships, implementing successful instructional strategies, and cultivating mutual respect. We are proud to celebrate Jessica and her dedication to our students, staff, and community. So congratulations to Jessica Goldberg, PA Walsh, STEAM Academy's MHFT Teacher of the Year. I'm gonna ask you to sit down, and we're gonna all get up to take a picture later. The next one I have is Bob Lashbrook. Bob is an exceptional educator, a tireless advocate for students, a trusted leader among colleagues, and a deeply valued member of the Ann Sobrato High School community. Bob's ability to meet the needs of diverse learners while maintaining rigorous academic expectations reflects both his skill and his deep commitment to student success. His inclusive teaching practices are especially impactful in collaborative classes where his thoughtful support of all students helps them thrive alongside their peers. His classrooms are engaging, hands-on, and intellectually challenging, consistently inspiring students to think critically and apply scientific concepts with confidence. Bob is also an invaluable leader within our science department, and he plays an instrumental role in curriculum development. Beyond the classroom and department, Bob is a visible and uplifting presence across campus, even being chosen by the freshman class of 2028 as the class advisor. He is known for his school spirit, generosity, and willingness to support students and colleagues in any capacity needed. Bob Lashbrook embodies the very best of education: expertise, leadership, compassion, and an unwavering belief in the potential of every student. He inspires excellence in his students, strengthens the practice of his colleagues, and continuously works to improve our school community. Congratulations to Bob Lashbrook, Sobrato High School's MHFT Teacher of the Year. Next, we have Brianne Howell. Brianne Howell, come on down. Let me give you your certificate first. Here you go, Brianne. Congratulations. Brianne is well deserving of this recognition. She is a strong educator, a fierce advocate, and a wonderful colleague, both within and outside of her own department. Brianne consistently finds new and creative ways to reinforce class concepts and ensure that students have the best chance of success. She works hard to support them in applying what they have learned, utilizing relevant and sustainable curriculum in classes like personal finance and financial algebra. Brianne has forged strong relationships with her students. Her classroom is always a place of kindness and compassion, and she constantly champions for her students and their success. Brianne goes above and beyond for our staff. She's a reliable colleague and a friendly coworker, to which I can attest to. And this sentiment is shared by those in all departments, not just her own. We are grateful, and her students are lucky to have Brianne on our Live Oak campus. Congratulations to Brianne Howell, Live Oak High School's MHFT Teacher of the Year. Next, we have Aaron Seamus. Aaron, come on down. So Aaron has orchestrated the Martin Murphy music program for the last 3 years. He has been one of those teachers that goes above and beyond for the students. The time and effort he puts forth is exceptional. He gives of himself, hosting a student club and staying late to prepare. He's dedicated to his students, developing positive relationships, and helping them win competitions. Not only is the work he does to bring out their musical talents phenomenal, but he also works diligently to support who his students are off stage. He trains them in comportment and professionalism skills that will be important in their future career paths, whatever they may choose. Aaron is a highly valued member of the Martin Murphy staff, and we are pleased and proud to announce him as our Teacher of the Year. So congratulations, Aaron, Martin Murphy's Middle School's MAC Teacher of the Year. Next, we have Carol Sheets. All right, Carol, sorry, I'm scroll down. Carol is such an important asset to our district. Having spent many years in the classroom teaching, she is a skilled educator who knows best practices. And now she plays a vital role in the support and success of our newest educators. Carol is a lifelong learner who truly believes that relationships are at the core of everything. She is often the first to share a new and innovative strategy, helping her teachers connect with their students to support their engagement. She offers immediate and effective strategies. She provides thoughtful and practical guidance, and she creates space for reflection and growth. Carol's work helps to strengthen the classroom cultures and student learnings across our campuses. And if you're lucky enough to be on her team, you know how supportive she is. Always ready to listen and collaborate. Whether she's bridging the gap between new and veteran educators or finding the next best thing for our classroom, Carol's impact is district-wide. Congratulations to Carol Sheets, the non-site specifics MHFT Teacher of the Year. Next, we have Helene. Hi. Halem is a wonderful educator. For the past 3 years as a host teacher from another country, she has provided our 8th graders with the incredible experience of having her as their teacher. She has given them a unique chance to experience a different culture and immerse themselves in the Spanish language in a meaningful way. Halem genuinely cares about our students and consistently goes above and beyond to support them. She creates a classroom environment where they feel seen, valued, and cared for, and she does a great job at providing them with different opportunities to showcase their learning. Additionally, Halem is a kind and generous colleague. She is a wonderful addition to our staff and a delight for us to work with. These are just some of the reasons why Halem is our Teacher of the Year. Congratulations to Halem Sanchez Cruz, San Martin Gwen's Environmental Science Academy's MHFT Teacher of the Year. Did I miss anyone in the crowd? Oh, sorry. What? Rachel Solomon. Thank you. I have you. Come on down, Rachel. Rachel is an exceptional educator doing so much for both of her students and her colleagues. Her kindness and patience are evident in every interaction she has, both inside and outside of her classroom. Rachel is always acting with care and compassion. She works diligently to meet the needs of all students, creating a welcoming and inclusive environment where every student feels supported. Rachel is always willing to lend a helping hand. She collaborates and consistently to share her knowledge with colleagues, providing valuable ideas, resources, and best practices with others. Rachel maintains a positive attitude even on challenging days, demonstrating both professionalism and commitment at all times. She is a respected and admired educator who does an outstanding job fostering a comfortable learning environment for her students and a caring work environment for her colleagues. Congratulations to Rachel Solvenson, El Toro Health Science Academy's MHFT Teacher of the Year. I know your name, I just didn't know when you worked. I forgot, yeah. Did I miss anyone else? Okay, great. I'm going to announce those who are not here before I announce Denise. Sorry. It's okay. I would like to announce Jessica Garcia from Barrett Elementary. Sabrina Grant from Paradise Valley Engineering Academy. Wei Guevara from Nordstrom Elementary. Colleen Kenyon from Los Paseos Elementary. Wyatt Grant from Central High School. Estefany Mendoza from Britton Middle School. And now I would like to announce our district-wide Teacher of the Year, Denise Lissel. Come on down. Wouldn't it be funny if I made you read your own thing?
You try.
Okay. Denise is truly one of the best. She shows so much passion for her teaching and dedication to her colleagues. Denise works hard to support her students, consistently designing lessons that are engaging, rigorous, and spark critical thinking and classroom discussion. The language arts program she has developed is exceptional, assisting in strengthening student skills and creating well-rounded learners. Additionally, Denise is a wonderful co-worker. She takes on leadership role, is always willing to offer support, quickly helps to problem solve, and ensures all others are taken care of. She has had an amazing career that includes mentoring so many other educators, helping them to become successful in their practices also. We are so very lucky to have Denise on our campus. Also, fun fact, Danny was one of her former students, is that right?
My first year.
Yeah. You want to say a few words? Are you sure? I kind of want Denise to say a few words. I don't want to put her on the spot. Do you want to say a few words? Okay, go ahead, Denise.
I just want to say thank you. I've been teaching in Morgan Hill for 22 years. I started at Los Paseos teaching 3rd grade. Danny, I think, was in my first class, so that was wonderful when he gave me my last computer, and it was set up so perfectly. And then I went to San Martin Gwen. I taught 5 years there for 5th grade, and then I saw Patrick give a presentation on the first K-8 in Morgan Hill, and I jumped on it thinking I would teach 5th grade. And then he told me I was teaching 6th grade and that he was going to put a brand new teacher in 7th grade. And it was the only self-contained seventh grade classroom in the school district. And so I told him, please don't do that to a brand new teacher. Ironically, she's my coworker now. She would have handled it fine. But I volunteered for seventh grade, the first contained classroom. We opened that campus. I don't think many of you were here at that time. There was like literally nothing. I didn't even have a chalkboard. The teacher had taken the chalkboard. And so I had a class set of Where the Red Fern Grows and some desks. And from that, we built JAM 14 years ago. And that was the first seventh grade class. I had 28 students. And now we have several hundred in our middle school program, 3 8th grades at capacity, 7th grade, and 3 6th grade. So I'm very proud of JAM, and I'm very proud of what we were able to grow. And I'm going to be ecstatic to watch it continue to thrive. And I love Morgan Hill Unified School District. I love the schools. I love the teachers and the students, and especially when I get to see them all grown up, like Danny and others coming back. So thank you for this opportunity to teach.
And I think now it's picture time. Okay, so can I have all the Teacher of the Years get up and take a picture, please? The board members are joining, right?
Yes,
Okay.
and board members.
Yes, and board members.
Yeah, I was.
Okay, guys, you're gonna have to get really friendly.
All right. Well, oh, they didn't hear me because the mic's off. 5 minutes, 5 minutes break. The mics are off.
I'll take a walk with her every day now. It's pretty good.
Not in here.
I'm gonna sneak out while I can. Say hi to your mom.
Hello? There we go. Now I have a mic. Yeah. Please help yourselves to some celebratory cake to thank our teachers and our student board member.
Is this your cake?
We're good calling us back to order.
It's when you brought it, but I can't eat it. No, I can have it.
We are now at item G, public comment, communications. This item, members of the public may address the board on topics not listed on the agenda. However, the board may not discuss issues raised not listed on the agenda. Topics not on the agenda brought to the board's attention may be investigated and reported upon as appropriate. Comments may not exceed 3 minutes per person. First, we have Haley Hemion.
Existing litigation in closed session, the law requires you to identify the nature of the litigation, the case name or number. Continues to hide even the name of the case from the public. I specifically asked the district to correct this agenda before the meeting, so you had plenty of time because it was 6 days before that I notified you, and you ignored it, didn't change it. So these are just examples of flouting transparency laws. The second one around transparency, financial transparency. Education Code 42631 requires district expenditures to be approved or, if delegated to the superintendent, which is the case here, ratified by the board. That means it still has to be reviewed by the board. Yet this district provides little to no meaningful visibility into spending. You could be doing first-class trips to Tahiti and we'd never know about it. And I've heard stories from teachers that you're doing lavish catering in the district office. I have no way of proving or disproving because there's no visibility into non-contractual spending. I submitted a public records request asking for warrant registers, and it takes months apparently to even get them. So I don't know why the expenses aren't readily available. So month after month, it's like a mirage. It keeps getting delayed and pushed out. Even Trustee Altman at the last board meeting, or the one before it, the last one, has asked, and many times before, asked for visibility into expenses while you're doing massive structural deficit spending. Yet those requests, even by trustees, is ignored. So the public has a right to know how taxpayer money is spent. Every other district that I've looked at on their board agenda has it on the consent calendar. This one doesn't. The district routinely withholds information, is late on public records requests, and violates the law with regarding to that, resists disclosure, treats transparency as optional. That destroys public trust. When public trust is gone, leadership credibility goes with it. So honestly, Superintendent Garcia, Board President John Horner, and Sarah Northrop Gaddis, Vice President, need to be replaced when it's time for the election. At the last meeting, Trustee Gartner pointed this out appropriately. Again, giving the district more money through another bond measure while the current leadership structure is in place makes no sense whatsoever, and I couldn't agree more. This district should not be asking taxpayers for more money when it resists transparency, ignores legal requirements, and mismanages finances. We need to see where our dollars are being spent. Full stop. And I would really like to know why you won't provide warrant registers. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public comment for non-agenda items. This for now or for later? So Mark Hinkle, did you want to talk about things not on the agenda or a later item? Later item. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for the clarification. Okay, then we'll move on to H1, our student board member report.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Again, I'm Rebecca White, and I'm the student board member. I unfortunately was not able to make a slideshow because I was busy doing my finals today and tomorrow. Last home stretch,
Busy being a student. I think
busy
that's
busy
acceptable.
doing my responsibilities as a student and getting things done. But things have been going good so far. I'll talk about stuff that's been going on in my life, I guess, for a little bit. Fill up some time before we get into the real stuff. Yeah, last band concert. Board President John Horner was nice enough to come and visit and watch, and that was really appreciated. This Sunday, I had my award ceremony for the Morgan Hill Mushroom Festival Scholarship, where I was awarded $1,000 from the committee. Saw some people there. Thank you guys so much for showing up. I graduate on June 5th, so I hope to see some of you guys there. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Very good.
Thank you guys
very
for
much.
letting me serve for the past couple months. It's been a great experience.
Also like to take this moment to thank Romney and Rebecca, our student board member and alternate student board member. They've been sharing the role in reality because it's so busy. Thank them very much for their excellent service. And we have flowers and a plaque.
Oh, it's fancy. Wow. It's not a paper.
That's good. Again, thank you very much for taking this on, as well as all the other things both of you do. It's really extraordinary. Okay, we are now on H2, superintendent and staff reports.
Timely, huge appreciation to both student board member and alternate student board member. So Ronnie and Rebecca, thank you for always providing such an insightful student perspective, and thank you for representing your peers. True to form, I remember during the campaign, you said that you would represent the students, and you did it so beautifully. So thank you so much, Rebecca. And we wish you, on behalf of the board, we wish you the best of luck at San Francisco State. Yeah. As is usual, my updates really are a brief summary, just a brief snapshot of the many things that are happening in our school district since our last board meeting. So this is about a couple of weeks. We had an opportunity to honor our retirees. We had a theme of rolling out the red carpet, and our very own Denise Listel, our district teacher of the year, is also retiring. So we were able to say thank you to Denise and other retirees, both classified and certificated. And I think we honored them beautifully. So I want to thank IT and the retirement committee who worked tirelessly to honor our many employees who have worked with us, many of whom 30, 40 years. So we thank them. Also, we had many people don't know that as a unified public school system, we educate students, especially students who have an IEP. We educate them through their 22nd birthday. And so we call that program post-secondary. And so these are some of our post-secondary students. The post-secondary program is co-located on the central campus. So they came out and they visited us. They visited many departments within the school district. They had great questions. One that stumped me. One was, how many trees have we planted? I didn't have an answer, and so Ricky, we're gonna need to find out how many trees we've planted district-wide. Well, I told them that I owed them that answer, but I want to thank our teachers and our paraprofessionals who work in the post-secondary program and who treat our students with so much love and care and support. So I thank them, and seeing our students always is such a bright light in my day. We also had a Battle of the Books. This is the first. This is for all of our elementary schools in the school district participated in the Battle of the Books. And it was, my gosh, very competitive. And Los Paseos took it again. So congratulations to Los Paseos. I think El Toro won last year, but Los Paseos took the victory back again this year. So thank you to our library for hosting our Battle of the Books competition. You see the parents that are on the outskirts of that room. And so thank you to our students and to our teachers and our librarians who really lead our kids' hands in the reading of many novels. They have to read a lot of novels. And then, as Rebecca mentioned, it's been busy at our high schools. We recently had our Ann Sobrato High School Awards Assembly for our seniors, and the same thing at Sobrato. Beautiful, beautiful way that each of the schools, very uniquely, by the way, very different, a different way that they honor each of the graduates, and very uniquely Live Oak and very uniquely Sobrato. But it's wonderful to root them on at the tail end of their 12, 13 years with us. And so I thank our students for all the hard work. I got a really good picture of you, Rebecca. I need to send that to you. We also have quarterly parent roundtable sessions with our students, with our parents. And so we just had our last parent district roundtable meeting with our parent leaders in the district. And so I thank our parent leaders who also come here, share their thoughts and ideas, and it's this symbiotic two-way street of communication. I really am, this is years in the making, but I kind of want to front load to all of you that our Family and Community Engagement Center is uniquely poised at full build out to be a one-stop shop for all of our parents in our community. So we're having conversations to be able to provide a free clinic or clinic on the Family and Community Engagement Center at no cost to the district. More information as it unfolds, but this will be absolutely wonderful to provide that service for our families and our students. So as you all know, I have chats with Carmen in the community on a monthly basis. I'm concluding my 5th year with the district, and I continue to have those on a monthly basis, but I also have district office chats. And so these are, I think we call them cookies with Carmen. So I thank all of our district office personnel, really unscripted, no agenda other than, how's it going? And we come up with some great ideas together as a community. Rebecca mentioned this. Sobrato had its Pops concert at Sobrato, and Live Oak had its concert last night. I too attended the Mushroom Mardi Gras. You saw me, I saw you. So about 26 students, I think 26. So huge appreciation to the Mushroom Mardi Gras for putting on this Herculean effort of a two-day effort, and the proceeds go to benefit our students. So thank you to the Mushroom Mardi Gras participants. We also had the picture at the bottom we had Morgan Hill Unified present there, and so that was our HR team. So thank you to our HR team that was present, and lots of lively conversations on people wanting to come and work for us. We need bus drivers, so please help us spread the word. We need bus drivers. I also had an opportunity to attend the May revised budget update at the County Office of Ed. President Horner and I went together. I know this is going to be part of his presentation, so I'll just skip ahead. But I do want to publicly thank Governor Newsom for the additional money that we are going to be getting, all districts in California are going to be getting. For right now, it's about $4 million of ongoing funds, at least. So we thank him and the legislature for supporting school districts, although they still owe us over $3 billion. And so we're still having conversations that money belongs to us, but I'll stop. I'll let President Horner talk about that. Proud member of Rotary. And so I want to call out Rotary, not just for the many scholarships that they give our students, but also the good that they do worldwide. I'm a proud member of Rotary. And so thank you, Rotary, for all the great work that you do. We also had a reclassification celebration. We had 181 former English learner students who were reclassified fluent English proficient. That's a big deal, you guys. It's a big deal. And so I think all of our classroom teachers, all of our reading intervention teachers, our administrators, our paraprofessionals, our community liaisons, our district office staff that works very closely with the schools in order to support our students on their path to English fluent proficiency. 181, I think that deserves an applause. Lastly, the Live Oak High School softball team. I went to the game last Saturday. They are incredible. I'm a softball mom, personally. But they are in the finals for Division III, and so I want us all to please send positive vibes. I'll be going to the game. They've got this, and that's the end of my report. Go Nuts.
Thank you very much. Okay. Morgan Hill classified employees not reporting tonight, so we'll invite up Morgan Hill Federation of Teachers. Welcome back.
You get to hear from me twice today.
We're honored.
I know. Good evening, board trustees, executive cabinet, and community members. My name is QA Nguyen, and I'm honored to be the elected president of the Morgan Hill Federation of Teachers. This evening's presentation, recognizing 14 of the amazing educators we have in this district, just goes to show why I am so humbled to be in the position which I am. To be a representative of these individuals, ensuring they have fair working conditions so that they can work on ensuring our students have welcoming, rigorous, and engaging learning environments is an honor. I want to thank them again. They've all left, even though they invited me for dinner. I want to thank them again for all the time they dedicate and all the effort they expended and all the impact they have made. There are some exciting updates from the MHFT leadership. First, Avery Unterreiner, MHFT office staff and secondary vice president, has welcomed a very cute baby boy to her family. Yeah. Due to this, she has stepped down from her current positions. So while we expect to welcome her back as a site representative in the fall, in the meantime, we have held an election for interim secondary vice president. I am proud to announce that Chito Barrera from Sobrado High School will be our 26-27 secondary vice president. Yeah. So our officers for the coming year, therefore, are myself as president, Jen Clem Myers as our at-large vice president, Chito Barrera as our secondary vice president, Teresa Colbert as our elementary vice president, Lori Shoemaker as our treasurer, and Jan Skapik as our secretary. While I believe many of our certificated staff members will be taking the summer off in order to get some much-deserved rest and relaxation, the MHFT office staff, made up of Lori Shoemaker, Julian Ray, and I, are still working and therefore available for collaboration at any point during this summer. Please don't hesitate to reach out. The MHFT negotiations team is also looking forward to reconvening negotiations in June and July. We are hopeful that we will have a contract proposal to present to our members at the beginning of the next school year. And lastly, as we head into the final week of the school year, I'd like to wish a happy summer to all students and staff. I want to congratulate the students on all the challenges they persevered through and successes they accomplished. And I really want to thank the educators for all the time and dedication they poured into their classrooms and schools. I look forward to seeing you all back in August, and thank you.
Okay, the Morgan Hill Educational Leaders Association. He's still president.
I'm
Patrick
still
Bookser.
here. Good evening, everybody. Patrick Bookser, president of Morgan Hill Educational Leadership Association. End of the year celebrations going on. Your principals put in the last little bit of their data this week. They're waiting for the end of iReady and some Hanover survey. Summer school planning is continuing. We had a great retirement celebration. I think our multicultural, multilingual celebration was the most ever, as our superintendent said, 181 kids. I've been going to these for many years, as many of you have seen me there, and that is the biggest number of students that have been reclassified and
by a lot.
That's impressive, super impressive. We had our last LCAP meeting, provide input and review additional data and allocations. I know you have a bond decision to make tonight. Just know it from the seat that we all sit in. Any money coming into our schools helps, period. So thank you for your consideration and allowing the community to make a decision. Congratulations to our seniors on their next paths in life, and a special congratulations to our Teachers of the Year, so eloquently put from MHFT president. Each and every day in the classroom is where it's all about. So anyway, I want to thank you for a wonderful year and summer schools planning, and I know we have a couple more board meetings before the end of the year, so you'll be seeing more of me as well too. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, we move on to board member reports. Anyone like to kick us off? Board on the related activities? Looks like Trustee Andrade got her hand on her mic first.
Just a couple of things. I attended the Live Oak High School's Green and Gold Award ceremony. Amazing. Our CTE grads, it was like the entire stands were full. That was just something just I was completely blown away. I'm unsure if the community knows just how robust our CTE programs are. I also want to thank Live Oak High School administrators for honoring Angel again and presenting his certificates to his mother. And lastly, Friday was Gavilan College's commencement ceremony, and we had a record-breaking 2,062 graduates and certificates for associate's degrees. So it's the largest class we've ever had. So I think it says a lot about community college and the programs that we offer, and how community college is, again, free for the first 2 years for class of 2026. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Trustee Altman, please. Then Trustee Marquez, or Clerk Marquez, you'll be up next.
One was a non-happening. The South County Youth Task Force meeting was canceled, so imagine we'll be picking up again in the fall. And I went to the Bulldogs award assembly, so we can balance out. We'll tag those. We try to sometimes. And the retirement party was really nicely done. And my congratulations to all the retirees and to the retirement committee. It was a very lovely event.
Clerk Marquez.
Yeah, I attended also the Sobrato High School Senior Awards. Very impressive, the amount of awards that were given out and the scholarships, and it was really nice to see all the students and being recognized. So congratulations to those Sobrato High School students, as well as Live Oak. Attended 2 functions at Los Paseos. I attended the Apex Fun Run. It's a fundraiser for the kids to do their little runs, and they earn money from pledges to gain money for Home and School Club and other activities, Playlosophy and so forth. Did some shout outs to the kids. That was fun. And then I also attended the Spring Festival, where I never really noticed, but it's a lot of the students and their families, they make these little crafts and they sell them out there. And it was pretty impressive on some of the things that the kids come up with, and they actually did those crafts and made some money, and at the same time had a lot of fun watching all the kids getting excited for the end of the year. So, good for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President.
I attended the Britain end of year concert, which was amazing. A highlight was their rendition of K-pop Demon Hunters, Soda Pop. It was really cute. It was really great to see the students' growth over the year, because I've been going to all the concerts. So, and I have a 6th grader who plays the euphonium, which is a miniature tuba. Thanks.
Rebecca here is open for coaching opportunities this summer, right? Anything else down here? Anything? Trustee Munson, please.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry. I also attended the Los Paseos festival. I didn't see you. We must have crossed paths at some point, but but it was very exciting to see their crafts and everything. And then they had they can make slime and different things. So very engaging. And the Apex DJ, he actually came to our school, so I saw him there as well. But it was just really nice. The engagement of Los Paseos and their community is phenomenal. And then also I attended the retirement celebration, and that was well done. And kudos to the team that put that together, and congratulations to the retirees. That was awesome.
Thank you. Seeing no others, I'll give my report. It's been a busy few weeks. So Dr. Garcia mentioned the Battle of the Books. I had a chance to stop in and observe some of that as well. And I didn't know how that worked before, if you're not aware. So all the students at these schools have a list of 36 books to read all year long. And then they come together, and I think it was like teams of 6 or 7 from each elementary school meet. It's kind of in a Jeopardy-like format, but watch out for trademarks. So it's not a Jeopardy thing, but it's similar. And they answer questions like, what was the book with two teenagers that had to, jump over a lion to get to the cliff, or whatever, different thing. And, what was the book? And what, so they answer and they go around. And that's the battle, is answering questions about the books they read. And it was wonderful. I really loved that our library hosted it because we're trying to get, while school's closed for a little bit in the summer, these kids that are really interested in books, there's wonderful summer programs and books going on at the library. So also trying to create the handoff. I know there have been some of these before done at our school sites. This is the first time, so I appreciate the partnership between the district and the library to provide that connectivity and also for all the adults involved to get to know each other more, the teachers, the librarians, all those relationships matter. So that was really, really fun to see. And then also the Chamber of Commerce had a business and career expo at the Shoe Palace. I'd never been in there before. They have a whole operation inside of those big warehouses, but that was very interesting. I mean, for me, a lot of it was Old Home Week. Many of the people that were there displaying, talking about their businesses, I knew from my many years with the Chamber, so got a chance to catch up with people. Our district was there looking for employees, particularly bus drivers. Everybody's like, wouldn't you like to learn to drive a bus? But well represented, a nice networking event. I think they had 5 banks there, so that was interesting. It was pretty heavily represented. There's a lot of new banks coming to town, but that was worth going to. Again, the connection between our district and the business community is something we all can play a role in connecting our schools and our kids to where the resources are. And also, I talked to Nick, the Chamber CEO there. He's been working quite closely with Live Oak staff on a summer internship program, which there are 3 businesses signed up for. Dr. Garcia and the staff have figured out how to make all the insurance. There's so many ways people can say no. So the bureaucracy, they've done a great job quietly. You didn't even see in their reports behind the scenes, making sure those things are sorted out. So some of our students that have been in the product design curriculum at Live Oak, a number of them will be placed at local businesses for, I think, 4 to 6 week structured internships this summer. So that's a pilot program, I think a half a dozen or so students, but really looking to build on that model of engagement. So really great to get an update on that. There's also mentioned the senior award night, said both Live Oak and Sobrato. Both wonderful, both very different. Each school has kind of its own culture, its own way of doing it, but it's all about celebrating our students and the scholarships. Sometimes in the past, they've announced the total dollars. That wasn't done this time, but our students are doing exceptional things and going, to all kinds of schools with a lot of support. Also had a chance to be at the multilingual celebration. We've talked about it twice. I'm going to hit it a third time. 181 students. I mean, some of you have been around here a long time. I don't believe there's ever been a number. So these are students, how they're identified is they say, we don't speak English at home. So that goes, so then as a school district, we have responded, well, we need to make sure you're competent in English, along. And so it's everywhere from, reclassification happened at first grade, second, some of them were really little, all the way through senior. So we had the entire representation of students there. And as you go along, it gets harder and harder to pass the test and meet the requirements. But just so proud of those students and their families, and they're all now, at least bilingual, some are trilingual. So celebrating them, the hard work they did, the families that were there, so proud. It's just, it's a really big deal. And I appreciate all the work everybody did to make that happen. Moving on, Ms. Latin, mentioned the Sobrato concert, which was wonderful being there. I mean, I could not believe these are students. I'm like, these are teenagers, performing this well. It is just amazing. And she didn't mention she was also a guest conductor for one of the pieces, as was one of her colleagues. So she looks really good with a baton, it was really fun to be out there watching and enjoying it. My wife Ann was able to come along and, all the way home, we're just, you talk about how that was amazing. That was amazing. We just had so much fun. So we don't have our own kids in school now, but I feel like we have thousands, and it was just really enjoyable. And then last night, Live Oak had their version as well. And, Dr. Zimmer, who has recently taken on, kind of rebuilding that music program, his mom was there to celebrate with him because he was a student at Live Oak, and she's been coming to his concerts at Live Oak since he was a kid. just really exceptional, and he's doing exceptional work. And that color guard, the performance they put on, I mean, it could have been a television production of professional dancers. It is not the color guard of my youth at all. Just the artistic expression was anyhow. Sorry, it was just incredible and so inspiring. It's been busy. Spent two afternoons at the Mushroom Festival as a volunteer with Kiwanis, helping raise that money for kids. That's always a fun thing to do. Now I'll get on to some of the more legislative, serious kinds of things. So our Santa Clara County School Board Association Legislative Action Committee, I often report on that. That's now in its 6th year. I was the founding chair because in the early days of COVID, we're meeting, said, everybody's doing stuff to us, how do they hear from us? And that became a now 15-member strong Legislative Action Committee, which is very active. Others have taken on leading it, so I'm still very involved. But one of the things we did this last year was co-sponsor legislation to try and create an endowment fund. When the state has extra money, they have to put some of this in an endowment fund that will be invested to start backfilling districts like ours and Gilroy and the many districts that are at the lowest level of funding in the state, to start filling the gap between that and the most well-funded. People don't know, like a Los Gatos, a Palo Alto, a Carmel, where my daughter has a business. They have more than double the funding per student that we have because of the peculiar way California funds schools. So that effort has now turned into a proposal to put that on the ballot this November. Senator Cortese continues to lead that effort. We just voted to continue co-sponsoring it. And it's interesting too, because many of the school districts in our coalition in the county are well-funded basic aid or community-funded districts. But they also, is like, you're not going to come take my money, are you? No, that's not the intention. We just want to find a way to get others up to where you are. So they're supportive as well from an equity lens across the county. So that's an ongoing effort. It's starting to bear fruit. But the other thing we have been, I'll say, pounding on when we meet with legislators is at the federal level and the state level is special education funding. People have been reluctant to bring that up because it's misinterpreted as, don't you care about these students and their needs? That's not the point at all. The point is we care, but the level of, if you go back a decade ago, about 50% of the special education spending in California was coming from reclassification of general ed. Now it's well above 65% and growing because the need is growing while the total enrollment is going down. So we've been pushing hard on that when we've gone to the state or the federal for coast to coast every year, which I've done that 5 times. Again, the federal government's it's like there's lots of things we could talk about. Special education funding. You passed the law. You put the requirement on us. You promised 40%. You're now doing 7%. That's unacceptable. So we just keep hammering on that because it's a real issue, and it's an issue again for all districts. So the governor's May revision of his budget proposed an additional $2.5 billion into special education funding, which is good. But he did that in response to the Senate and the Assembly after his January, I'm sorry it's technical, but this is how all this works. After his January proposal, they put forward for the first time ever their own, we have our own proposal. So now he came out with the May revise that looks a lot like theirs. But again, we and others throughout the state have been after them constantly, this is unacceptable, and you're putting us in the position of, this kid needs this, but then where do I take it from? So, we'll be seeing that in our 4th item, finally, some significant movement. This is the biggest movement the state has made in ongoing funding for special education, in my knowledge. It's not enough, but it's a big deal, and it's very meaningful to us and all school districts. So I think to us it comes out 2.3, 2.4. Basically, when the state gives out $1 billion, we get $1 million. It's kind of how the math tends to if you work through it all. But just we've had many conversations here around budget and finances, and many times some of them have gotten quite heated, saying, we can't just be here. What do we cut? What do we cut? What do we cut? We have to be active with the people that control what we have, and so we're making some progress there. And I'm glad of that. And, you know, just then I'll end on, so capital advisors, Dr. Garcia mentioned, both they and CSBA put on presentations recently about what exactly do these changes in the budget mean to us. We're going to see that translated into Morgan Hill Unified terms later tonight. But I'm pretty confident that both from the capital advisors, and they're capital advisors because they're in the capital all the time. They not only know the economics, they know the politics really well. That's what they do and where they live. And you know, what we're seeing in the May revise, I don't think what finally comes out of the legislature in June and July will be any worse for us. You know, there's chances it may get a little better. We'll see, because they're still talking about $3.9 billion of, you know, pseudo withholding from Prop 98 that is not legal. So I feel pretty confident that the numbers we're seeing are real for the year ahead, and they should get better. That concludes my report. It's a long one, but a lot has been going on. Any other board reports? Okay, seeing none, the calendar of upcoming events, item 5 is published for your review. I won't say it all out loud because everyone's good at reading. Area I, consent items. So we had a request, if you want to bring this back, to pull that item. So I don't know if anybody else wanted to pull it, but it only takes one member to pull the item. So Trustee Gardner, if you'd like to speak to why you'd like to pull that item.
Sure, thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, in going through this, when you click on the links, the state and other management resources links, the information was provided. None of the cross-reference code, which I'm assuming is existing board policy code, none of those are populating. When you click on it, it says, and I'm quoting, you do not have permission to view this policy.
So you're talking about the supporting documents in the agenda item? Because I can
Correct.
open those, or are you talking about some other, something
No, the
else?
supporting documents.
I can open on my,
I'm talking about the cross-references, code 0410, 1113. There's a bunch of them. It's the Crawford. It basically gives you sample of all of them. All I think there's 11 of them on there, and I clicked on every single one of them, and you couldn't get into the links. No, I signed in. Well, did you go? I'm talking about the cross references, not the links before that. All the links before that open. Here, why don't you take a look at this? This is, for example, remote meetings and attendance. So you go to, I think it's page 8, halfway down, the cross references. None of these open. Not one of them. On any of these policy change
And
recommendations.
When did you become aware of the technical, because I can open, I didn't open every one of them. I'm opening samples now. I mean, did you request any assistance, or
No, that was
something you just
today.
discovered?
That was today.
Well, so, yeah.
I read
mean,
through them fine, so
The cross references, you're able to.
So those
open
are,
up.
if I may add, these policies, 99% of them, with the exception of the one, which I can highlight in a bit, come directly from CSBA. And they do, as a courtesy at the end, which is what you're listing at the end of the policy, they hyperlink the various ed codes. I have no control over that. What's germane to the policy is what's right above it. And
Okay, then
what's
I guess
in,
the
and what's
question is,
in, if I
why
may
are-
finish, and
yeah,
what's
why are
in
we
blue
putting
is a CSBA note to be able to provide more context. So most, 99% of these policies are coming directly from CSBA. So
Yeah,
they've been
that I
vetted.
understood.
Yeah, so they've been vetted by CSBA and their slew of attorneys that make these recommendations because of changes to state law.
And
Well, again, if you want to vote on that, you can, or you, not you, but my colleagues, you can. I don't want to vote on it if I'm not being able
okay,
to link
that's
to the
fine. Well,
policy.
do we have a motion on this?
I motion
item?
that we I move to adopt the consent items.
Thank you, Trustee Andrade. Do we have a second? Thank you, Trustee Marquez.
Question, though.
Yeah.
Which one is not straight from CSBA?
Oh, yeah, you mentioned some.
Thank you.
You would address.
It is the awards for achievement. We have, and it's noted on the actual policy. If you click on it, it's in blue. So the California State Seal of Civic Engagement is a brand new seal that our students qualify for. So this seal was not in this existing policy, and we have a handful of students that meet the requirements of the seal. And so this is coming at the request of the high school site so that their students can qualify for the seal. So we noted the change in this policy in blue. Do you see that?
Yeah, so
That's
it's
the
policy
only- that's the only-
5126, Award for Achievement. And
Yeah,
the
thank
local,
you.
if you open it, the local content is what's in blue. And in this case, the state has completed their process, and it's optional for districts to do it. I think next year it will be part of the normal process, and CSBA will update their draft. But
And so not updating the policy prior to students graduating would prevent our students from getting this seal.
this year, yeah.
Yeah, this year.
Does that answer your question? Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Please call the roll. Oh, sorry, was there another question? No.
Trustee Marquez, second.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Roll call. President Horner.
Aye.
Vice President Northrop Gaddis. Aye. Clerk Marquez. Aye. Trustee Gardner.
Abstain.
Trustee Altman. Aye. Trustee Munson.
Okay. That passes with six. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm reading her mind.
You made the motion. I just kind of assumed you were also an aye. All right, very good. We will
Thank
now
you.
move on to J1, Comprehensive Energy Savings Plan Update. Assistant Superintendent Chang will introduce this item. We can't hear you now. You're going to have to phone a friend.
Thank you, President Horner. At this time, I would like to welcome and introduce Curtis Smith with ARC, Caroline Keisner, and Brandon Rock with Wodan. They will be providing an update to the Comprehensive Energy Plan.
Good evening, trustees and staff members. My name is Curtis Schmidt. I'm the principal at ARC Alternatives. We're a direct contract to the district to be your owner's representative through this process. I'm going to give a little bit of an update where we are in the procurement process and more on a process side. Wildan will follow with some of the more technical details about the potential project coming up. Next slide, please. Background, back in March of 2025, we helped the district release an RFQ, and we were seeking a contractor to deliver a project to focus on energy savings and actual energy bill savings and find the most cost-effective measures. In October 2025, we were in front of this board and we selected Wildan. We gave you an update at that point as a contractor. And since then, from October till now, Wildan has been conducting preliminary audits of all the school sites to find potential energy projects. Excuse me. And the district and Wildan have been negotiating a contract, which will come to you at the next board meeting for approval. The overview of the activities on the process side, the contract negotiation was headed up by OAHH Legal. They took the lead, providing legal support. ARC Alternatives provided the technical input and supported the district staff, Colvera and facility staff. And the district staff provided input and review of the potential projects. Wildan did conduct the preliminary audits simultaneous to this. They did get a little bit ahead, not ahead of themselves, but they were out on site ahead of the contract and at their own risk. They presented us with some rough order of magnitude savings and costs to determine what kind of projects might be in a potential project that would come forward. The district and us, with our advice, helped shape the measure mix of what's going to be presented. And bottom line is we helped to navigate what would be cost effective for the district and direct the cost prohibitive measures to be dropped out and not be considered for future. Next slide. Next steps are going to be to execute a design build contract with Willdan. Willdan is going to conduct a more detailed investment grade audit, which is partially underway. They'll talk to you a little bit more about that. Once they're done, we will help the district do a peer review of the proposed project mix, focusing on the energy savings and costs. And the district will ultimately select the final measure mix and come back to the board with a Government Code 4217 award, which says that the project pays for itself over the lifetime of the project. All that will be peer reviewed and before it comes back to you for final execution. At that time and that time only, you'll be asked to execute a construction contract via a change order to the contract that's going to come up to the board next month. And then Willdan will go into construction and we'll help, we'll be on standby if needed to help during the construction phase and oversee the project. Any questions before I turn it over to Willdan?
Questions at this stage? Seeing none, please.
Thank you, Curtis. Good evening, members of the board and staff. We've had the pleasure of working with staff for the past several months, and we're very happy to be here to give you the latest on the Comprehensive Energy Project. Next slide, please. And you might not be familiar with me. Our lead program manager, Eddie Slade, I could not be here tonight. He's the gentleman in the middle. He's actually on a family reunion right now, so Brandon and myself are filling in. My name's Carolyn Kiesner. I'm the regional director for Willdan, and I oversee our portfolio of projects here in California. I'm here with Brandon Rock, who's our lead developer, overseeing the development of the project. We have others listed here. Steve Reese, our construction manager, Matt Ophart, he's another lead developer working on our team. We have a village of others that are working on the project, and in totality, we have this team has over 100 years developing successful projects for districts similar to yours. Next slide, please. In terms of an update on where we're at in the process, so we finished that first green section, so the discovery and scoping section. This is where we did a utility bill analysis. We walked your sites. We actually also walked with CAPS and student interns as a part of our process. And we took this time to really refine the scopes down to the district's priorities. And so now we're in this orange section. This is our energy assessment and investment grade audit portion of our project. So we're in the midst of that. Brandon will give some more details around the different scopes that have been selected as priorities, which are lighting, thermostats, and HVAC optimization. Next slide, please. And this goes just more into the details of what's a part of our investment grade audit. And so we're in the process of that. Our investment grade audit is an ASHRAE level 3 detailed engineering audit. So this is where we really, we really count every single light fixture. We look at every HVAC unit. We define the scope of work. We procure and finalize the scope and savings. We evaluate different funding sources, and we do all that alongside staff. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brandon to go into the details of the scope.
Thank you, Carolyn. Everyone's insulin's probably kicking in after that sugar in the cake, and there's now an engineer at the microphone, so I'll do my best to keep it high and tight and keep everyone's eyelids open. So first measure we want to look at is lighting. We counted over almost 16,000 different fixtures across 984,000 square feet, 15 different sites. Kind of the big takeaway is about 83% legacy technology, and specifically of that, 77% is fluorescent. One of the things that really comes out of a LED lighting project is you really get better light quality in the classrooms. The fluorescents kind of age out, they color shift over time. So the end result is that students can see their books better, they can see the screens better, they see the whiteboards better. And depending on what the district chooses, we can also do different kind of controls in the classrooms. You can do different scenes or dimming up and down as needed. It all becomes kind of standardized across the district too. It's not this classroom has X, this classroom has Y. It's really consistent across everyone. Next slide, please. And then one thing we really wanted to call attention to here is the California fluorescent lamp ban. So California Assembly Bill 2208. So as of January 1st, 2025, California has banned the sale of fluorescent lamps, T8s, T12s, CFLs, pretty much the whole gamut. So new replacements can no longer be legally purchased in this state, which really leaves your maintenance staff with three choices. You can replace from your existing stock if you happen to buy a bunch ahead of time. Leave fixtures burnt out as they burn out, and then there's just a little bit less lighting in that specific area. Or one by one, kind of replace each fixture with LED. All three options have different pain points between them. One of the things that this project is proposing is doing a wholesale sweep of what inevitably will happen with or without this project, is just convert the whole district over to LED. And really, just doing the fixtures alone saves you about 50% in wattage right out of the gate. Overlaying controls on top of that, if you so choose, only adds more. Next slide, please. On the HVAC side, so we got up on the roofs, got in the closets, counted every single piece of equipment, got nameplates, got serial numbers, took a look at what was going on in the classrooms, over 4 different controls platforms. In reality, I think it's more like 6 to 7, depending how granular you want to get. One of the things we'd really recommend, and we've heard from the district staff, is converting into a single control system of the district's choosing. They already have one in mind. We're working with them to kind of put together a proposal to do that. You know, one of the big things is more consistent comfort in the classrooms, because you now have reliable schedules. Rooms are at the right temperature when people come in after the weekend, or if you want to have an event after hours, it's really easy for the maintenance staff to just click the button and have it ready to go. One of the other things is if you put CO2 sensors in there, not only can we save energy when people aren't in the classroom because we don't have to bring in as much fresh air, we also can bring in extra fresh air when there are a lot of kids in the classroom. We're kind of verifying that we're bringing in the right amount of ventilation into these spaces too. And then lastly, it's really fewer HVAC disruptions, because issues can caught quickly because they have more capability kind of detect when things are going wrong, when spaces aren't quite getting warm or cold as they expect, or if the unit's not putting out the right temperature air. Next slide, please. Then lastly, for my part, community engagement. So back in December, Eddie and I met with the CAPS team and the interns. We walked around Sobrato High School. We taught the kids how to look at the lights, kind of think about lighting savings calculation just in the room that we were in, which is kind of eye-opening for them to see how much you can save just by doing lamps in one room. And we also took them for a tour around their own campus to show them the parts of the school that no one really thinks about until they're broken. They got a real kick looking up inside the cooling tower. They thought that was the neatest thing ever, so that was cool. But then, you know, we are committed to continuing engagement, ribbon cutting ceremonies. I think there's also more things we could do with the CAPS team or the Morgan Hill Youth Climate Action team. Really open, however, the district wants us to keep engaging, but that was just a quick example of what we've already done to date. Back to Carol.
And with that, we'll take any questions that the board may have.
I have a few, but if any of my colleagues would like to go first. They all want to look at the electrical engineer for this one. Okay, that's me.
Please.
That one. So, yeah, well, it's just, none of what you discovered is news to me. It was 3 or 4 years ago, I came to the then staff with an LED bulb and said, when are we doing this? Because in my own business, I did about 100 fixtures myself, which was a lot. I wouldn't want to take on this whole school district, so I appreciate that. You didn't mention anything in terms of HVAC about natural gas phase out, either in HVAC or in hot water. I mean, the state of legal play on that is a little bit up in the air right now, but it was curiously not mentioned. So you might mention why you didn't mention it. Maybe they said don't touch it.
So one of the things that ARC mentioned is we dropped out measures that weren't going to pay back over the lifetime of the equipment or the measure. And electrification right now really isn't there for payback purposes. So just by the nature of that, it didn't make the cut.
Fair enough. I appreciate that.
Sure.
And then also, I mean, this is focused on energy efficiency. Is there an analysis of Or maybe it's also cut on payback considerations of any additional solar beyond what we have? Or is that later, or it's just too expensive now? Or because we're not Australia, we pay 3 times as much for our solar as they do?
Because the district has already hit the high schools with solar, that was the big bang for the buck back in the day when prices were low and there was a little bit less. The remaining sites have some liquefaction concerns, which drives the cost up, as well as new codes requiring EV chargers, which just drive the cost up. So those were investigated, but ultimately fell out. They're somewhere around a 32-year simple payback, if you look at it that way, on a system that would last 25 or 30 years. So it doesn't quite pencil out in this situation, so those were dropped.
So fair enough. You looked at it, not economically viable at this time.
As well as NEM 3.0, as he reminded me, that's, has killed the savings stream as well.
Yeah. I know more about that than I wish I knew about too, but yeah. I'm on NEM 2 in my house, but my daughter's on 3. Anyhow, so then finally, this talks about, the savings and the cost. What are the potential sources of funds for this, $7 to $8 million? I mean, are there grants? Is it, I mean,
You want to take it?
I guess that will come to us at a later day, but a preview of coming attractions, because we're not approving any spending, but this, you're giving us a preview. So what's the preview of how we might pay for such a thing? I love the ongoing savings. I just don't know how to pay for the capital.
Yeah.
And
So we're in the process of identifying those funding sources right now. So as we go through, the scoping and the final pricing. That's part of the consideration over the next 3 months, and we should have plenty more details within 3 months or so. But we're looking at a braiding funding model, whether it's internal funding or going out to get grants. PG&E has a programs where they provide you with. You want to take that on?
There's an on-bill financing program option, and so in this investment grade audit phase, we'll be looking at several different paths and options for the district to consider to fund the project. We're not a financial advisor, but we will bring options for the district to consider.
Okay, more to come. Thank you. Other questions? Trustee Altman, please.
A couple questions and a statement. So just clarification, do you have any rough idea of how much we're looking at if we upgraded, and we have to change the lights, and I hate fluorescent lights, so I'm all for that. And HVAC, about how much that would run, is there any rough idea right now?
Yeah, so our rough estimate right now, just for the lighting alone, it's between, I believe, $6 to $7 million. But if we're looking to include both the thermostats and also the HVAC improvements, that would be about $7.5 to $8.5 million. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little note on slide 7 that kind of towards the project scope estimated at.
Oh, look at that.
At the bottom there.
Yeah, I'm glad that Silicon Valley Clean Energy came and talked to us last meeting.
Right.
I would assume that's a potential source of funding. I used to be a classroom teacher for a long time. The thought of one centralized control unit terrifies me. It never worked before. Hopefully technology has improved. What happens if it goes down? Is there some built-in backup plan, or does everyone sweat or freeze?
Yeah, so when it goes down, it just freezes at its last set point, basically. Usually a single unit won't go down. You'll lose Wi-Fi mesh between them, and it has its own program schedule, and it still has local control.
So there would be local control. Mm-hmm. Okay, because all those teachers out there listening, if it's really hot, do not put an ice pack on your thermostat. That will make it hotter.
It's another way, yeah.
People get confused.
And don't put your fridge right next to the thermostat either. We've seen a couple of those around here. Heat goes right up the back.
Other questions, please?
Thank you for that presentation. I did my own home recently, and it was wonderful. I'm really happy with it. And I did, but I stuck with the gas, but the improvement is incredible. And with all of that was taken care of. But my concern is similar to my colleagues is with, so I want to make sure I heard this correctly, just because I'm putting myself in the site people's shoes. The thermostat thing is the thing that I'm really concerned about. So they will have local control with that? So, because everybody's runs a little differently.
Sure. So what the thermostats, when we're doing our savings calculation, we're really not assuming it's going to be this exact temperature. We're really assuming the savings are coming from improved unit control and being able to turn them off on outside the schedule. What this gives the district able to do is they can set their own parameters and guidelines of what they allow teachers to do up and down. That's not really a part of the project per se. That really gets put on the district. We're just giving the capacity to do that. Like I said, our savings are really based on bringing in fresh air when it's supposed to and not, and then turning the units off when they're not supposed to be running. Like if you've ever gone into a classroom on a Saturday, nobody's there and the AC's cranking, those are the savings that we're after, not necessarily 72 versus 74 versus 73.
Okay, thank you. That's super helpful. Really appreciate it. And yes, please, let's get rid of the fluorescent lighting.
Please, Trustee Altman and then Trustee Marquez.
This is for Assistant Superintendent Chang. What's our typical utility bill look like on a month?
On a month? Yearly, it's about $2 million.
Our year-long,
Yeah.
what are we looking at?
Our electric is about $2 million per year.
And then gas. I mean, last I heard it was like 3 million between electric.
Yeah, well, that includes all utilities. So that includes electric, gas, and garbage waste.
Trustee Marquez?
So hypothetically, this goes through with the 15 sites. How long would this job take?
Good question.
Yeah. Good question. Somewhat depends on when we're going to do it. If we want to try and do it in the summer, that's typically when a lot of K-12 work happens, or we do have the option to do swing shifts and do it overnight, but that would kind of drag out the duration. It's somewhat up to what the district would prefer. Do it one fell swoop in the summer and knock it all out, or kind of drag it out for probably 6 to 8 months, during the year.
So you're saying that if you did it in the summer, it would be, 2 to 3 months to do all the sites?
Correct, yeah.
So
No.
is this summer viable, or are we talking about next summer when you talk about summer?
That would be next summer.
Yeah. Okay. So it seems a little late to start on this
Correct,
summer.
yes. Those contractors are already booked.
That's
Yeah.
tomorrow, practically.
Yeah.
So there basically would not be any interruption with the classrooms or the students?
If we did the
If
summer.
we did the summer?
Right.
Right.
And if we did it during the year, that's why we would do it kind of second and third shift too, so we could plan that around, whereas after-school programs, there wouldn't be disruption that way either.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll say thank you very much and look forward to seeing you back here.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
And Assistant Superintendent Chang will have a nice braided necklace with all the money figured out. You bring visual aids, right? Different color for different funding sources. All right. Mr. Andrade, roughly how long are you imagining this? I'm trying to decide if we should take a break now. We've been going 90-some minutes, or...
I could go pretty fast, but if you want to take a break, we could take a break.
Yeah, let's take a 5 to 10 minute break just so everybody can stretch, use the restrooms, and pay full attention. Still missing two. Call us back to order. We are now on item J2, Measure G project updates. Assistant Superintendent Cheng, please kick us off.
Thank you, President Horner. I would like to welcome and introduce Mr. Joe Andrade, our bonds director, and he will provide a recap of all the Measure G projects that's been done thus far. Thank you.
I kind of like to hold the microphone. Thank you and for allowing me to be here to provide a recap of our Measure G projects that we have done over the past 16 years. There'll be a few things that I talk about. For example, on the slide you see Series A. What Series A is the bond that was sold. So the first bond that was sold was $56,512,000, and that money came to the district once it was sold, and it got put into a pot somewhere at the what is it called? In San Jose.
County.
The County Office of Ed, and they hold on to it until we're ready to spend it. Next slide, please. So of that, go back one. So with the money that we received from Series A, money was allocated to charter school, PA Walsh, Paradise Valley, and San Martin Gwin. There were a few other projects also that money was allocated to. The LBJ Education Center, which is central. There were some deferred maintenance projects that went on and some planning. And I'll go over most of those projects. So next slide, please. So this is a before and after picture of the new multi-use building that was built for charter school. And that came in at a little under $5 million. That was $4,828. And I have not been there, and I was not part of that build, but it looks like a beautiful building to me just by looking at the pictures. Next slide. PA Walsh received a little over $4 million on that round, and there was some parking lot improvements, a new parking lot drop-off, some water and sewer upgrades. The multi-use room was modernized, I should say. Next slide. And here's just a picture of Paradise Valley before. Next slide, please. And this is the after. Their administration office was modernized, and that came in at a little over $2 million. Next slide. Paradise Valley again. This is the new classrooms that the students get to take advantage of. And that came in a little under $4 million as well. And the last project at Paradise Valley was their multi-use room. And I believe that serves as kind of a lunch room and a stage, and they use it for a bunch of events, and that came in a little over $3 million. And here at San Martin Gwin, we're looking at their new administration building. And that was over $2 million. Next slide. And San Martin Gwin also got a environmental court and a lunch shelter. Next slide. And there were some Gen 7 classes built to expand the learning environment over at San Martin Gwin for just under $2 million. Next slide. And then Britain, this was the start of the master planning for Britain, and that was roughly a little over $300,000. And here is a total breakdown of all the bond expenditures that were related to Series C. As you can see, Series A, I'm sorry, total construction costs was $39,382,000. We spent 14 million on technology. There was some overhead cost, and then the master planning for Britain. Next slide. So Series B was sold for $82,386,000. Next slide. And this is a program summary of where the money went. So as you can see, Britain received some money, Nordstrom received some money, and Jackson as well as Live Oak. And so Britain, for $45 million, they received a beautiful campus. As you can see by the pictures, they got nice shade structures, an open courtyard, and that campus has pretty much transformed since I moved to town. So, next slide. Jackson, they received also a multi-use building that was repurposed and modernized. Next slide. And Jackson received some new classrooms. So I don't know if Mr. Brooks is here. You like the classrooms? All right, next slide. And Live Oak, their gym was in desperate need of modernization, and that came in at a little under $2 million. Next slide. Nordstrom received a update to their administration building, and it was modernized. And I don't know if anyone's been there, but they did a really good job with that build out. It's very welcoming as soon as you come in. There's a greeter. There's space for conference rooms. It's a great build. Next slide. They also received some new classrooms. I don't remember how many classrooms they received. This is just one picture of the building, but they received quite a few classrooms over there. Next slide. And again, we have the expenditures for the Series B. Total construction costs were $72 million. Technology was $4 million. Overhead was just under $4 million. And then there were some other expenses and our deferred maintenance projects. That was the start of our deferred maintenance projects. That was a small price tag there. So next slide. So Series C is the last of the series, and we are at the tail end of the series, and Series C was sold for $58,473,354. And in Series C, Britain received some more funding, and Live Oak received a little bit more funding, and we were able to focus a lot on the deferred maintenance projects through Series C. And just to give you an idea, deferred maintenance is kind of like what the last presentation was about. It's the lights, it's the HVAC systems that were outdated, the things that we don't see, the fire alarm systems, fire life and safety. A lot of those systems needed to be updated, and a lot of projects through Series C updated many of those deferred maintenance items. So building C was demoed last summer, and that was, I believe, one of the last standing buildings at Britain. Once it was demoed, the hard courts were expanded, and we added more play area for the students. The gymnasium was in desperate need, and we modernized that gymnasium, and it's a wonderful gymnasium. They'll be getting some acoustic paneling placed on the wall this summer to help with the reverberation, but it came out great. Next slide. Britain received a new building in Series C. They received the student union and library. And that project came out to just under $30 million. And then Live Oak was, their football field was replaced. It was in desperate need, so it got replaced. Next slide. The parking lot for the students was replaced. It was completely tore out and repaved and restriped and new bump stops and no more potholes. So these are the expenditures for Series C. And all these expenditures are reviewed through the Citizen Oversight Committee. Everything goes through an audit, and outside agency audits all of our spending to make sure that we are in compliance and that we are spending the money accordingly. In Series C, we had a total construction cost of $33 million, just under $34 million. We spent $5 million in technology. We had some overhead costs, and deferred maintenance was $17 million. Next slide. So when you put it all together, this is where the $197,371,717 went to. Next slide. So $145 million of the bond dollars went to construction and modernization, roughly 74% of the bond dollars. We spent $23 million on upgrading our technology, which was roughly 12%. Our deferred maintenance projects was $17 million, which was 9% of the bond. There was some overhead and some other expenses. The overhead was about 4% of the bond, and the other was a little less than 1%. And how did we get to that number? Well, I did some math while I was sitting in my office being nervous for this presentation. And I did a little research. So in 2012, the median home value was, according to the US Census here in Morgan Hill, $625,000. So the bond we went out for charged the homeowners, the taxpayers, $59 per 100,000 of assessed value. So how that broke down was that per year as a homeowner, you contributed $368.75, or $30.73 a month, or $7.09 a week, or $1.01 per day. So for less than the price of a cup of coffee, we have been able to accomplish all these great projects that are benefiting our students in our community. So that is my presentation, and I am open for any questions or comments.
I see our Measure G committee oversight committee chair is here. Yes. She's going to add something as well. And then we'll take any questions, dialogue.
I don't like to hold it. Let's see how I can get it back in there.
You can just hold it, or you don't want to hold it.
No, I don't want to hold it. Just put it at my height. That's what I want to do. Good evening. My name is Kathy Chavez Napoli, and I'm proud to be the chair of the Citizens Oversight Committee for Measure G. But I think it's much more important for you to learn about my history here in Morgan Hill and the history of many of the citizens who approved the bond. My children went through K through 12 here in Morgan Hill. My grandson attended Nordstrom. And I've shared with many of you that my husband and I had our first date at Britton when it was known as Live Oak. And that was in 1970. So I can attest to the desperate need of that gym to be updated. Because it's 50-some years old of same benches and use, and hard use. I think that it's important for you also to know that I am Native American, and because of that, we believe in making decisions that are not decisions for today, for this year, for 10 years, but for 7 generations. We are very fortunate that the board that voted for Measure G had the foresight to approve this bond because these buildings desperately needed it. And we still have buildings that desperately need it, these improvements. You've heard about all the wonderful improvements at Britton, at Live Oak, at Nordstrom, at Paradise Valley. And I've seen all of those because for 8 years I have gone to 3rd grades to do a presentation on the Native Americans and how long they've been here, over 13,000 years. So I think it's important for you to recognize that we are not making this decision for today. We are making the decisions for our future. And I know some of you are teachers and you understand that very clearly, that it's easy to say no, it's easy to criticize, but it's very hard to look into the future and see what's going to benefit all of our students. And as I've said before, every one of our students deserves a good classroom, a safe classroom, high technology, everything that everybody can learn by. And I know that Ms. Munson is a kindergarten teacher. I was a kindergarten teacher because they were shorter than I. That's why I picked that grade. There was some importance in that. But I also know that you set up the classroom and you set up students to learn, to love to learn. And one of the things that can be discouraging is when you are in a classroom where it leaks, where it's cold, where it's hot in the summer, where you see other classrooms and you go to other campuses and your classroom does not look like that, your campus does not look like that, and it builds up a sad opinion of who you think you are. If you really care about our students, then you recognize how important it is to pass a bond that will improve our students' facilities so that they can be successful and achieve at the maximum. Now, Trustee Andrade kind of stole my thunder a little bit because I am on the board for Gavilan Community College, and we did give out 2,062 certificates and degrees. But I think more importantly, we had one student from Sobrato. She was the youngest student to graduate, 16 years old, and she came from Sobrato. She earned 5 AA degrees, 5 in high school. And it was because she had that confidence and that belief in her success. Every one of our students deserve that, and you can give it to them by supporting this bond. So thank you so much for what you're doing and your commitment to our kids, whether it's this year, 10 years from now, or 20 years from now, because it took 12 years to complete this. That's how long it takes. And many of the board members who approved it, they don't have any children in our schools today, but they believe and they knew that there was importance there. I spoke to Don Moody, who is currently on the Citizens Oversight Committee, and he's very sorry that he couldn't come. He is in the hospital right now undergoing some treatments, but he said to say how much he supports this bond and how proud he is to have been on the board when it was approved. So I hope that you do support a future bond, and thank you so much for your commitment.
Thank you. Getting into the next item a little bit, appreciate that. Any questions for Mr. Andrade here? Please.
Thank you for the presentation. I just have a minor question.
Sure.
I don't quite understand how a lot of this works. So can you explain to me when you refer to the total Series A or B or C, when you say sold, what does that mean?
So when we go out for a bond and there's this gigantic number, right? Almost 200 million, right? We don't get all that at one time. We have to sell series in chunks to investors. So I don't know exactly how it works, but it goes out for sale, and then the people who sell it for us say, okay, we've sold this many bonds, and this is the amount of money you're going to get. So that's Series A.
I think you might want to phone a friend known as your boss.
I'll phone Covera Ching. Thank you. We actually have Mr. Del Scott in here who can eloquently describe how this whole process works.
Thank you.
It's actually very simple. When the voters approve a bond, what they're approving is the authority for you to actually issue those bonds. You don't have the ability without that vote. So let's say it's $100 million to make it easy. They've approved $100 million, but that's not costing anybody anything. That's just giving you the authority to issue those bonds as you need them. So let's say now you say, I need $25 million. Then you would take $25 million of that authority, and through firms like ours and through underwriters, you would sell those to investors. The investors would give you the money. The taxpayers would pay back those monies like a mortgage with principal and interest. And that continues until the bonds are then completely used up, and then they're retired. That's how the whole process works. Is that clear?
Yes. Now, so do you use the example of a mortgage, principal and interest? Who determines the interest if it's an investor?
The interest is determined in a number of ways, but it's determined on the day of the sale, and it's a back and forth between the underwriters and investors. Typically, these are not individuals. These are typical large funds that are willing to make a bid to buy the bonds, and the underwriter who is trying to find the right place in the market. And those interest rates are fluid. They change every day, every hour. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrade, please.
I have some comments, and then for our Citizen Oversight Committee, Kathy Chavez. So just some general comments. As you were talking, it's really interesting because you're talking about where's Kat? There you are. Okay. You're talking about the board members who approved the bond. My understanding was it was on the 2012 ballot? Okay. And do we know if that was approved, how the result of that?
Yeah, I mean, I looked it up. So that the then board passed their approval on July 24th of 2012. Actually, Mr. Moody was on the board. He was absent that day, hopefully not with the same medical need. I know he actively campaigned for it, so he didn't abstain. He was absent, and the other 6 members approved it unanimously at that time.
Okay, the reason I ask is that it's really interesting because in 2011, Morgan Hill Times had published an article about MHUSD budget, and specifically how at a board meeting in 2011, so that same board who voted unanimously to approve this bond, they had to actually cut $1.26 million from the budget that year. And then I'm hearing that that same year. So that's just my general comment, that they had to issue some budget cuts. Apparently, there was a deficit at that time under Superintendent Wes Smith. Even some commentary about administrative perks and how MHFT was upset about it. That's my comment. And then my question is, on your PowerPoint presentation, you have a thing called other. Is that salary? Like, can you explain what that is? Like, it's $1.9 million.
Yeah, so along with constructions, there's other costs associated with it. So that would fall under legal fees. That would other would be anything related to construction, the pre-construction costs, the geotech services, the abatement services, just all these little ancillary things that are not actual construction.
Okay, and one of the districts that I work for in San Jose, they went out for bond, and they had some type of project manager overseeing it. What's the difference between going that route and then having in-house? Can you explain that?
Yeah, I can try. So there are firms out there that do project management for districts. The difference is that they charge a fee, and that fee is usually a high fee For example, current district in San Jose Evergreen Community College District, they hired an outside agency to manage their bond. They're paying $3 million per year for someone to manage their bond outside of their district. So it's a firm that is not, part of the district, and they can, they make decisions on behalf of the district, and then the district, they come to the district whenever something needs to be decided. So they just manage all the projects for them, similar to how we manage the projects in-house.
Thank you.
Less money or more money?
Well, it would definitely be less money. I believe for the past 16 years that we've had this bond, we've spent $1.5 million on the employee salary. So like, the director salary, the project manager salary, anyone who works on the bond and only on the bond.
So in 16 years, you've spent how much?
1.5.
And the district that I work at spent $3 million in 1 year?
Yes.
Does that conclude your questions or comments? Yep. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll go to Trustee Marquez here. I happen to have a lot of institutional knowledge on this topic because in 2012, at that time in my world, I was a board member at the Chamber of Commerce. I hadn't yet been asked to take on being CEO there, but I did lead the education committee and at the time when the school district, which I didn't know a lot about, just getting involved with, came to us and said, we're going to do a bond. Would you like to endorse it? And we ended up as a chamber endorsing it at that time because we were convinced of the need. But and then I joined the Citizens Oversight Committee immediately. But so back then, how the timeline went, I mentioned, and I'll get to the question particularly Trustee Andrade asked. The board voted in July. The measure was on the November ballot. It passed with 65%, very, very strong support. And that was the first time in a very long time Morgan Hill Unified had passed a bond. I know like 8 years prior, they'd had some unsuccessful attempts. So then they sold Series A in February. So again, as was described, one of the criteria is once you've actually taken the money from investors and stored it at the county, there's a timeline of expenditure. So even you never take down all the money at once. You only kind of sell as much as you can put to good productive use within a certain period of time. And the measure that was on the ballot is very similar to the one we're looking at on the next item here as far as the general types of projects. They also at that time were pitching very heavily technology. It's hard. That was, in fact, they had an idea to put 10% of the money into like a recurring investment trust fund, but turned out that was not legally allowed, so they didn't do that. But you see the kind of 10 to 12% technology spending all along. So that was kind of how it was parcel's a bad word, apportioned. So there was always about 10% allocated to technology. Which now we're in a mode, it's like, well, we have all this technology, have we gone too far? That's a different conversation. But yeah, so then the first actual detailed project list, the then board passed in August of 2013, after the staff actually came to the board with, I think, 3 or 4 scenarios. Okay, for Series A, rather, not measure, Series A, here's some alternatives of how we might allocate that money. At that time, where it's now the LBJ Center, where Central High School is, that site was mothballed. It had been an elementary school that was mothballed. That was refurbished, and Central was moved there. There was a charter school, Morgan Hill, was on another site that had previously been Encinal School in Morgan Hill Unified, and then when that charter was approved, they took over that site. It was in terrible condition, so there was kind of negotiations of, even though this district doesn't manage it, we own it. So there's a whole set of stories about that. But anyhow, it wasn't until August of 2013 that for the first $50 million, we're going to spend it as you just saw. And then there were a couple of iterations of that. So there have been questions of kind of how does that work? What is a project? So what's described in the next item you'll see. But it was a long process, and I'll end on, there was originally, I forget the name of the company, they were out of SoCal, Southern California. They were hired to be the construction management firm because the district didn't have any people that did that. And I remember meeting them in the oversight committee role as just kind of community members, like, who are these people? Are they really doing anything? Like, their PowerPoint looks like they just took the last one and changed the name of the school. And within that first year, actually, the district administration, then was led by Wes Smith, went to the then board and said, I think we made a mistake hiring an outside firm to do this. They're not very responsive. They're not doing a good job. They're very expensive. Let's hire people instead. So I literally, I wasn't a decision maker. The oversight committee, you just make sure everything that's being done is in compliance with the law. But I remember in great detail kind of how that went down. And so now you've had some people like, oh, why are their staff working on this? Well, that's the why they're working on this. So, I mean, there's all kinds of presentations and things. If anybody really care, I can share them with you, but just wanted to add that since, like, everybody up here, I was more involved in it. Trustee Altman was a teacher then, so she was involved as a teacher and a union leader, I believe, at the time. Anyhow, any other questions or comments? Oh, sorry, Trustee Marquez, for my monologue there. There's a lot.
So, Mr. Andrade, to your knowledge, with some of this the spending, I'm assuming it would be considered the deferred maintenance. Do you know if any of the work that was done at any of the sites, having just had this presentation with the lighting and the HVAC from the previous presenter, was any of that updated with these series?
The deferred maintenance, yeah, with Series C, yeah. So the HVAC system at Britton School was updated. The HVAC system at San Martin Gwynn was updated. The HVAC system at, Ricky, help me out here. Partial, well, it was more than partial. I think it ended up being complete. Okay, well, okay, so, yeah, there were quite a few sites where the HVAC systems were updated, going back about 4.5 years.
And what about the topic of the fluorescent lights? Were any of those replaced? Especially, I assume Britton was because it's fairly new.
Yeah, I would say it's safe to say that the newer buildings have the fluorescent or the LED lights in them. But any other project that's outside of Series C, I don't believe has any of the LED lights in them.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Series A and Series B were still in the era. Remember those curly Q, horrible screwing fluorescent lights? I think we have 2 still in our house somewhere. But yeah, but most of the newest stuff, I think the Gen 7, those are either advanced fluorescent for their time or LED lights. And most of Britton is the 17% of fixtures that didn't show up as legacy grade in our earlier presentation. That's those newer buildings. I don't believe any significant go into spaces like this is still the vintage stuff in here. But behind that sign there, those are new LEDs because that's a pretty new sign. And that's pretty little kind of a microcosm of our near 1 million square feet. Is that what I saw in that report? Wow, that's a lot. Other questions, comments? Yes.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I am wondering, and I think I'm a little bit concerned that we're making a comparison at this point in time to the pre-2012 bond measure passing, when my understanding is for that other bond measure to be passed, there was work within the community for a good 2+ years. And there was input from school site parent leaderships. There was input from community groups. There was input from community leaders. There was input from employee groups. There was a scientist in town, I can't remember his name, he recently passed, that offered his building as a call bank center so that calls could be made to the community to get their input on this. So I feel the lead up to this proposal of bond measure is very, very different from kind of a climate and culture perspective of what was going on back then. Yeah, but, okay, well, I may or may not say it at the next topic, but they're bringing this up now. So, and I'm also concerned because that deficit spending or whatever's going on economically with the school district, that was right after the dot bomb. So this is a very different economic from our district's financials now versus the deficit spending has been intentional, in my opinion, versus back then, everyone was reeling, not just locally, but statewide and nationally from the dot bomb situation. Just my thoughts.
The phone banking you're referring to, I think, was Anaerobe Systems, a very busy company here in town, now in its second generation of family leadership. And they were phone banking specifically for the November election. I was there as part of a phone bank. That wasn't leading up to, that was after the July vote and before, or board vote and before the November community vote. The other elements, I couldn't speak to, but I am very aware of the Cox family and
I was lumping that all together.
Okay.
as- For that run up to.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, thank you very much, Mr. Andrade.
Thank you.
We'll be moving into J4. Trustee Andrade is recusing herself on this item and heading to the back room. And J3, getting my numbers wrong here. Assistant Superintendent Calvera will introduce Dale Scott, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you, President Horner. I'd like to welcome.
I'm sorry, my mistake. I should have invited public comment. We have a number of people who want to make public comment. My mistake. We'll start with Angela Herrera. Is Angela here in the room? Okay. Welcome. Please come up to the mic. You have 3 minutes.
Hopefully I can get this through. This is my first time. So yes, my name is Angela Herrera, and I'm actually a current parent of a Live Oak sophomore. And I also had a graduate last year for a student that went to Live Oak. So I'm just here really on behalf of more for the kids, my children. And when I say my children, I'm also my kids, everyone here. I grew up here in San Martin, Morgan Hill back in the 80s, so this is home. The one thing though that I have seen less change in is our schools. Unfortunately, early on, my daughters, I sent them to private school. So majority of my experience is from a private school. And I'm here today to ask for the option to actually vote on a bond. When I took my kids to the private school, we didn't have an option. They just pretty much went and increased my tuition and said, here, we're gonna invest in a drama club, which did not serve a majority of the students. I feel that it would be doing a disservice if we're not allowed to even make that decision, yes or no. And it's my understanding that the board just has to vote for it to get onto the ballot in November. What I have experienced and seen, and I'm probably real close to, is, but just more recently I've been a member participating on the student site, school site council at Live Oak. So I've had the opportunity for the last year to be on campus inside the actual school classrooms, the library, and the school itself needs some updates. It needs a lot of renovations. This is the biggest resource for our kids here, and I feel that where they are learning at is important. It's important for the teachers to also have the technology, have also the classrooms. I mean, ironically, I'm just here listening to the last two presentations. But if we don't have that opportunity, I feel that you, as the board trustees, are disenfranchising us, the Morgan Hill Unified, constituents, these voters. And I just want to leave one comment with you. When I asked my daughter to come with me, because she has been joining me with the SSE meetings and has learned a lot. And so
You can wrap up. Please
okay,
complete your
real
thought.
quick, sorry about that. I'm used to high tech that I go on. So I asked her, what is it that you would like to see? Or, told her what we're doing. And I asked her, well, what is it about your school? We're going to go and see who's going to vote, so that, or put it on the ballot so we can vote, so mommy can vote.
Okay.
And the comment she made.
Do need to complete now.
Yes,
She
so
can
real
fill
quick,
out a speaker card.
the comment
if
she did make was that they don't care about the classrooms that we're in. And so I just want to leave that because that is an opinion that you have the opportunity to change. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Like I said, if she'd like to fill out a speaker card and have her own time, she's welcome to do that. Okay. Next, Claudia Ortiz.
Good evening. My name is Claudia Ortiz, and I'm a parent at SMG San Martin Gwen, and I'm also part of the School Site Council. I'd like to have the opportunity to vote on the bond, so that I ask that you vote yes to put it on the ballot so that the community has an opportunity to vote on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, do we have Claudia Sepulveda on Zoom? Is she available?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Please proceed. We hear you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Claudia Sepulveda, and I am a parent at San Martin Gwen. I'm here tonight to respectfully urge the board to vote in favor of placing the bond measure on the November 3rd ballot to give us parents and community the opportunity to vote. This measure would provide essential renovations for schools like SMG. As many of you know, SMG is the oldest and most outdated campus in the Morgan Hill School District. To give a couple examples, our assembly chairs carry dedications from the class of the 1920s. When severe weather knocks our power out, we lose access to running water. Improvements funded by this bond would help ensure that our children learn in a safe, modern, and positive environment. We are fortunate to have an incredible administration and dedicated faculty at SMG. What they accomplish with limited resources is remarkable, and updated facilities and technology would allow them to continue delivering this high-quality education to our students deserve. I have served on our school site council for 4 years, and during that time, I have watched state and Title I funding decline. Meanwhile, our community continues to grow with more young families choosing to make Morgan Hill their home. It's time to give these new families and all of us the opportunity to decide on the future of our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have in the room, Christopher Bell.
Good evening. So why should this bond be a hard no for you, the board members? As was pointed out, there's been zero engagement amongst the community and amongst the even the board members. You haven't had any discussion about what priorities might be necessary, what's more important, paying teachers and people and academic programs with the parcel tax, or do we want to do a bond? Because you can't do everything. Of course, students deserve to have the best class facilities and classrooms, but what's more, you can only squeeze the rock so hard for blood. So what's more important? And I would contend that if we have leaky roofs, by the way, do we really have, raise your hand if we really have leaky roofs? I don't, okay, I'd love to know. Then the question is, who's getting fired if there's a leak? Because there's $8 million left. That should be done before renovating all the administrative offices, right, which was done with the last bond. So there's mismanagement. Either way, it's a bad situation. So there's been zero engagement on the priorities, and as far as with the community and certainly with the board, it's been all but done in private. Furthermore, I can tell you that the oversight, and I've attended the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, is a total joke. And I was a vice chair of a board meeting. They literally have a PR person coming in to talk about how to convince the public that these pictures look great. And then there's the polling, and I'm well aware of the bond cartel, and I do call them that because they're people like Dale Scott and others that work on trying to perfect the all-important 75-word ballot question, right? And I have the survey. I have screenshots of all the survey questions. And they figure out what words evoke and elicit a yes vote. Leaky roofs, hazardous asbestos. Do you want your right? Which one's more important? Modernizing steam rooms. And they figure out what 75 words elicit a yes vote. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why there is a 95% approval rating. So the voters get hoodwinked. And then, as was discussed at the last meeting, then the full ballot measure has anything but the kitchen sink, and you can go ahead and do workforce housing or whatever things that are lower polled. So this is called push polling. It's A, trying to convince people that are getting the poll to vote yes, and B, more importantly, to try and perfect the 75-word ballot question. That, I swear on the Bible, is true. So that's why the success rate in the county is 95%. And yes, it will pass. So you're not giving voters a chance. You're hoodwinking voters if you vote yes. We deserve a parcel tax under responsible leadership. We need to replace the existing leadership with people that spend money wisely and actually respect governance and statutes and things like that. I get ghosted, and I'm not a crazy person. I was a CFO, and I worked with lawyers my entire career. So I know what laws are being violated and which ones aren't. And there's a lot of things going on right now with this district, and not just me, that needs to be fixed before we start spending money on bond money. And this $335 million bond is $770 million when you add interest, because it's more than double with the interest rate. And I get another 10 seconds too, since the last speaker did. I get 10 more seconds to wrap up too.
Please do.
So, and just to put in perspective of what this is, if you have $1 million home, this extra tax on top of the previous one is $490 a year. If it's $1.5 million, it's $735 a year. And you can talk about what is per minute, but over 10 years, it's $7,350 extra tax. And I think we have tax saturation. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll invite Mr. Mark Hinkle, I believe, also in the room.
Thank you. My name's Mark Hinkle. I'm a district resident. My son went to charter school. My wife and I were both volunteers when it first opened. I'm giving you two numbers, 52% and 64%. That's the number of students who are behind grade level in English and math. $670,000 or $1 million for bond measure is going to do zero to improve those scores. Zero. Why are you doing that? Several people have mentioned computer technology. How many people here, can I see a show of hands, who bought a laptop computer and paid for it with a 30-year mortgage? Anybody? No, because that's nuts, right? But that's exactly what this bond measure does. That 2012 bond measure that passed, how much of that technology is still in use today? Probably zero. It's a total waste of money. This bond measure, not including the interest, is basically almost $39,000 per student. Since 2012, the average yearly reduction in enrollment is 100 students. Students are leaving the district because of poor performance like this. Your job should be to provide good quality teaching to the kids, which you can do through a parcel tax, not a bond. A bond is a total waste of money. Don't do it. Don't burden the taxpayers. The cost of living here in California is exploding, and this is just another reason. My taxes over $10,500 a year. My homeowner's mortgage, homeowners went up to $11,000 a year from $4,000 a year. I am paying almost $2,000 a year, not including my mortgage. That's how expensive it is to live here California and the Bay Area in particular. Lastly, in 2020, there was a $900 million bond measure. I mounted the campaign against it. I spent $800 to defeat it. And our voting percentage for no was just a hair under 61%. I'll pledge if you put this on the ballot, I will fight it tooth and nail and defeat it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Evelyn Jimenez, we here in person?
She had to leave. She was going to go on Zoom.
Oh, is she on Zoom now?
Yes.
Okay. Evelyn Jimenez
Hi.
on Zoom.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Okay. Hi, I'm another parent from San Martin Gwen. Also, I grew up my whole life here in Morgan Hill. I've gone through all the schools. And I'm so happy to see so many changes and seeing our improvements of our schools. And I really would love to see that for San Martin. Ms. Chavez earlier talked about how students need to feel that they're cared about, that their education needs are met. And I think one of them is fixing our facilities. Although my kids will probably not be there to see those changes, I want the future students of our school to have it, and so they can also feel that they're going to a school that is deserving of their education. So please give us the opportunity to vote for this in November. I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Now in the room, we have Cindy Ramirez. Will Cindy want translation services? Yes. Okay, so if someone when someone requests translation services, you get 3 minutes, and then there's 3 minutes to translate, and you can just, you want to go back and forth, or who's going to work with her?
She's going to do it in Spanish, and the translator will translate it afterwards.
Okay, so the translator will be on Zoom?
She's already on Zoom.
On Zoom, okay. Please proceed.
Okay. Buenas tardes, buenas tardes, miembros de la mesa directiva. Mi nombre es Cindy Ramírez. Hoy estoy aquí como madre, como líder comunitaria y como alguien que trabaja de cerca con muchas familias de nuestro distrito. Quiero expresar mi apoyo para que esta propuesta pueda llegar a las boletas electorales y que sea la comunidad quien tenga la oportunidad de decidir. Sé que este es un tema importante y que requiere mucha responsabilidad. También sé que muchas familias están enfrentando desafíos económicos y que cualquier decisión relacionada con recursos e impuestos deben ser consideradas cuidadosamente. Precisamente por eso, creo que la comunidad merece tener la oportunidad de informarse y de expresar su opinión a través de su voto. Como madre, he visto la necesidad que existe en nuestras escuelas, particularmente en Pio Wash. Sabemos que hay necesidades reales de infraestructura que no pueden seguir esperando indefinidamente. Nuestros estudiantes merecen espacios seguros, funcionales y adecuados para aprender a desarrollarse. Hoy no vengo a pedirles que tomen la decisión final por la comunidad, vengo a pedirles que permitan que la comunidad tenga la oportunidad de participar en esa decisión. Confío en que nuestros votantes sabrán evaluar la información y decidir lo que consideren mejor para el futuro de nuestras escuelas. Pero también quiero expresar algo que considero muy importante, independientemente del resultado que pueda tener una votación. Espero que el compromiso con nuestras escuelas no se detenga. Si esta medida avanza, será una oportunidad para atender necesidades urgentes. Y si no avanza, espero que sigan buscando otras alternativas, otros recursos y otras oportunidades que permitan continuar mejorando nuestras instalaciones. Nuestros estudiantes merecen que sigamos buscando soluciones. No podemos dejar de trabajar por nuestras escuelas, el bienestar de nuestros niños, nuestras familias y nuestra comunidad. Debe seguir siendo una prioridad. Por eso, respetuosamente les pido que consideren votar a favor para que esta propuesta llegue a la boleta electoral y permita que la voz de la comunidad sea escuchada. Gracias por su tiempo.
Thank you. Our translator on the-
Is she unmuted? Yvonne, can you try to speak? And then you can use the phone. Okay, she's.
I'm going to put you on speaker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. Members of the board meeting. Good afternoon, members of the board meeting. My name is Wendy, and I'm here today at the
That's not going to work.
No. Yvonne, you've already can you email it to me? Okay, thank you. She can email it and then I can read it.
Okay, that's fine. Got it?
You want to start the 3 minutes? Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Sandy Ramirez. I'm here today as a mother, as a community leader, and as someone who works closely with many families in our district. I would like to express my support for this proposal to reach the ballot and for the community to have the opportunity to decide. I know this is an important issue and it requires a lot of responsibility. I also know that many families are facing economic challenges and that any resource and tax decision should be carefully considered. That is precisely why I believe that the community deserves the opportunity to inform and express their views through their vote. As a mother, I've seen the needs that exist in our schools, particularly at PA Walsh. We know that there are real infrastructure needs that cannot continue to wait indefinitely. Our students deserve a safe, functional, and suitable space for learning and developing. I'm not here to ask you to make the final decision by the community today. I come to ask you to allow the community to have the opportunity to participate in that decision. I trust that our voters will be able to evaluate information and decide what they consider best for the future of our schools. But I also want to say something that I consider very important. Regardless of the outcome of a vote, I hope that the commitment to our schools will not stop. If this step is moving forward, it will be an opportunity to meet urgent needs. And if it does not move forward, I hope that we will continue to look for alternatives, other resources, and other opportunities that will allow us to continue to improve our facilities. Our students deserve us to continue looking for solutions. We cannot stop working for our schools. The well-being of our children, our families, and our community must remain a priority. That is why I respectfully ask you to consider voting in favor so that this proposal reaches the ballot and allows the voice of the community to be heard. Thank you for your time and service to our students and families.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other requests? Okay, seeing none, now Assistant Superintendent Chang.
Thank you, Board President. I'd like to welcome and introduce Mr. Del Scott, Financial Advisor with Del Scott, Inc., and Ms. Meredith Johnson, our bond counsel with DWK. They will be providing us an overview of the resolution that is being presented to you tonight, and will make themselves available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. I am going to introduce Meredith, who serves as legal counsel and bond counsel on this. And I've asked her to give you just an overview of the resolution so you have a sense of what the big pieces are and what will actually be on the ballot. Meredith?
Thank you, Dale. Good evening, President Horner, members of the board, Dr. Garcia, and staff. This evening, you're being asked to consider a resolution that would call a Proposition 39 bond election. You may recall Measure G was also called under Proposition 39. So Prop 39 allows a school district to place a measure on the ballot, and if it receives at least 55% of the voters voting yes, it passes. That is a lower threshold than the alternative manner in which school districts can call bond measures. In exchange for that lower voter threshold, there are some accountability provisions. So I'm going to walk you through the resolution briefly, and I'm going to point out the resolution really has 4 parts. The initial pages, there are 5 or 6 pages, mostly recite provisions of Prop 39 that are necessary in order to call a Prop 39 bond measure. You'll notice that on page 4, we recite those accountability measures. They applied to Measure G also. There are 2 audits that are required of the bonds, the performance audit and the financial audit. You've heard a lot about your Citizens Oversight Committee. There would be a Citizens Oversight Committee as well for a new measure. And there is also a project list. That means that the voters, before they decide how they want to vote on the measure, they get to see the list of projects upon which you could spend the proceeds. So the first 5 or so pages recite the provisions of Prop 39. They request the county to hold the election for you because, as you know, the election will be on the ballot in the county within the boundaries of the district. When we move on to Appendix A, we start getting to the parts of the measure that really make this the Morgan Hill Unified Measure. So Exhibit A is the 75-word ballot label. You may look at it and say it looks like a lot more than 75 words. There are some special rules for how we count the words we use in a ballot label. A proper name, so each of the names of the schools, counts as 1 word. That's why it looks a lot longer. So the ballot label is what voters see when they go to cast their ballot. You'll see that it says bonds yes, bonds no at the bottom, because literally the voters will be reading this statement and then decide how to vote. I'll give you a minute to take a look at that in case you have any questions about the ballot label. This is Exhibit A, A1. You can see in the 3rd line from the bottom, the measure would ask the voters to approve $335 million in bond authorization. And as was described earlier, we're not actually issuing bonds at the time of the vote. We're just asking voters to authorize this district to issue bonds at a later date when project funds are needed. The ballot label also mentions the tax rate, $49 per 100,000 of assessed value. I'm going to move on to Exhibit B, if there are no questions. Yes? Okay. So Exhibit B is the portion of the measure that is printed in the sample ballot that goes home to voters when they're considering items that are on the ballot. It goes on, you'll see it describes some circumstances about why the measure's on the ballot under the key findings, Section 1. I think the most important part of the full ballot measure is Section 3, the project list. As I mentioned, Prop 39 requires you to tell the voters ahead of time how the monies will be spent. So we crafted the project list, which really kind of gets into the heart of it on page B3. We used your long-range plan and made sure that anything on the long-range plan, which is your facility's needs, is included on the project list. So basically, the bond proceeds would be spent for that long-range plan. That's where the project list was developed. Any questions on the project list?
I have one. We'd had some discussion previously about if we wanted to pursue workforce housing or not. There was a public comment saying, we could sneak workforce housing in or something to that effect. I don't see workforce housing listed here. Does So what, as a legal advisor, given if this is on the ballot, is workforce housing one of the things we would be allowed to spend these funds on or not?
No, we did not include workforce housing on the project list.
That was my understanding, but I wanted to get it from the attorney, not from.
That's correct. So workforce housing is not an eligible expenditure from bond proceeds under the measure that is called by this resolution. That's correct.
Thank you. Other questions? Please continue then.
So the last part of the measure and of the resolution is Exhibit C, the tax rate statement. And this will also be printed in the sample ballot that voters look at when they decide how they want to vote. And it's intended to give voters an estimate, and of course it has to be an estimate because we can't project today what tax rates will be, but using reasonable expectations about assessed value and how it changes over time and how it has historically changed over time in Morgan Hill. We have estimated the average annual tax rate that would be levied if the measure were to pass, which is, you can see in paragraph 1, $49 per 100,000 of assessed value. The final fiscal year in which the tax would be levied, which is 2057-58. The second paragraph gives you the estimated highest tax rate, and the third paragraph gives you the total repayment amount for all of the bonds, if all of them were to be issued. And again, this gets printed in the sample ballot, so voters have this information. That's my brief summary of the resolution that you're considering.
Questions or comments for the presenter?
Let me make one final comment before you consider the resolution. I have witnessed many, many boards struggling with this decision on this. In fact, I worked on the first Prop 39 bond that was put on the ballot after it was passed in Fresno Unified. I think it was $199 million. It is a difficult decision. I think some of the words that were used by some of the people, all of the comments had good parts in them, but the one that struck me was how this was really giving voters to make that decision of what to do. That's the hard one. I've always been impressed by board members, and there have been many that I've met, who say, I don't support this bond measure. I'm going to vote no against this bond measure, but I am going to vote yes in order to put this on the ballot for others, for citizens to make that decision. And so I want to make sure that you're clear. A vote for this measure does not create a bond. You do not have that authority. You cannot, without a voter's approval, create a general obligation bond to be put on the be sold. Conversely, a no vote is really not stopping the bond, is only stopping the people from being able to vote for the bond or against the bond. I'm happy to answer any questions about the resolution itself or any other questions that came up as we've discussed, as the presenters have discussed, and of course Meredith has the ability to talk about any of the legal qualities as well. Yes, ma'am.
Since you put it that way, I would prefer if you were, because I understand what you're doing and I respect it, it's your job, but then go with a Prop, I think it's 46, Go Bond, which has a 2/3 threshold for the public. So that's why there's checks and balances. We're here for the checks and balance for the 2/3 threshold at this point. Then the public could decide with the 55%. The other way around, if you wanted to do it that way, then it's the 2/3 with the public. So I think that needs to be clarified when you make these kind of comments.
No, I think that's a good point. It's also important to point out that the 2/3 bonds only requires a simple majority of the board to pass, not the 2/3 majority to pass. It also cannot, there's a number of other limitations in that. It can't be used for equipment, for example. It has various restrictions on how long it can be outstanding. So there's a trade-off in those two, but it's certainly an alternative for the board to decide. And that's an alternative we're happy to bring back to the board if so directed.
Other questions or comments? Please, Trustee Altman.
This is kind of a history lesson. What was the percent of bond rates passing in a presidential election? This was the last meeting. Do you remember? or
Well,
have
over the
access?
last, statewide?
Yeah.
Yeah, over the last 25 years, and I only have it broken down in my brain by gubernatorial and presidential elections, the statewide passage rate of all of the general obligation bonds on those presidential or gubernatorial dates has been roughly 85%.
For both? I thought there was a big difference.
There's a difference between the presidential and the gubernatorial. The presidential is closer to the high 80s, the gubernatorial is in the low 80s, and they average out to about 85.
Thank you.
Questions, comments, or dialogue? Very quiet group. Well, certainly, surprised to no one, I'm in favor of putting this before the voters because I believe our students need it, and I believe the voters deserve the opportunity to vote. I don't know if anybody else wants to make any comments before we call for a motion. Please, Trustee Altman.
I agreed that a bond is necessary. I think we need to wait until the presidential election. Morgan Hill has had, as you mentioned, several unsuccessful bonds. Measure I went down big. It had about 39% of the voters voted in favor of it. And what is the term? The most reliable voters, and this the public doesn't have access to, but when polled, 42% voted yes, 7% were leaning yes. So that's well under the 55% threshold. It got better with the reliable voters. The unreliable voters are going to be voting for it, so I think we need to wait until more voters are going to be turning out and voting. I think this is going to be a pretty strange election. It took us 6 years to get this bond going again. I talked with four of the, either talked with or texted with, I was texting with Don Moody. He did not mention he was in the hospital, which is a shame. I talked with four of the board members who got Measure G passed. I heard about the preparation they did ahead of time. I think we would be really well poised now if we were looking at holding off for 2 years, having a bond on the presidential election, taking that time to get our stakeholder input, which is the first step that needs to be done. We learned that admin school 1A. Talk to your stakeholders, get the teachers on board. It was a heavy lift, and Measure G passed with about 60%. It was not easy. The teachers were working like crazy, administrators, community members, board members. I phone banked quite a bit, knocked on doors, talked with people. I think I'm confident we can get it done at the presidential election with the numbers I'm looking at here. I'm really concerned. I think we need to wait for 2 years and do our groundwork.
Trustee Munson.
So I'm going to echo that very same sentiment. I'm not against a bond. I am a teacher. I understand the importance of it. And I think that's why I think we need to wait 2 years. I think we need the community's backing. I don't think there was enough stakeholder input. I don't think we've done enough to prepare ourselves for that. It's very quick, it's upcoming. And I think with that planning and preparation of 2 years, we'll be able to really get the community behind us and get more information to answer all of the questions that are out there. Because I know that there's support here, but there's also some questions out there, right? And we want to make sure that when we do it, we want to do it well. And so I just echo what Trustee Altman said, and I'll leave it at that.
Trustee Altman.
And to Ms. Ramirez's point, and Dr. Garcia, do you mind translating?
I'm sorry?
I want to address one of Ms. Cindy Ramirez's points. that I would really be interested us in pursuing alternative sources of income. And I would like us to look at either possibly leasing property to developers, and we could tag on BMR workforce housing, or leasing or property exchanges to generate fees in the shorter term, and also how we're using our collected developers' fees. Because yes, Walsh needs love, and San Martin Gwen, isn't that interesting that our two community schools need the most love? So I think we do have some alternatives in the meantime, but this needs to pass, and I don't have confidence it would pass yet. And waiting another 6 years is not a good alternative. We need to get this when we can get it.
She has an auto translator on her phone, so she reads.
Okay, well, I can count. There's clearly not 5 votes for yes, but I'm still going to, just so it's on the record, I will make a motion to approve as submitted. Do I have a second? We have a second. Please call the roll.
Roll call. President Horner?
Aye.
Vice President Northrop Gaddis?
Aye.
Clerk Marquez?
Aye.
Trustee Gardner?
No.
Trustee Altman?
Reluctantly, no.
Trustee Munson? And Trustee Andrade is recusing
Recused.
herself.
Okay. That fails. We will move on to item J4. Once again, Assistant Superintendent Chang introduced the May budget revised issued by the governor and its effect on us. Thank you very much. What happened to that screen? Oh, there we go. Please.
Thank you. Tonight, I'm going to be given a brief update or high-level update on the May revise and the impact that it has on the Morgan Hill Unified School District. So with that, next slide, please. Some of the topics we'll be talking about are key changes from the January governor's budget proposal to the May revise. We'll also show the multi-year projection based on the most recent approved budget by the board, which was the second interim that was approved in March, and then next steps for the districts to consider. Next slide. So starting with LCFF, we'll start with the most significant change. You'll see that in year 26, 27, at second interim, the COLA was 2.41. When the state got the final COLA, that bumped up to about 2.87. So in year 26, 27, that would have generated the districts about $265,000 in LCFF dollars. And then moving on to year 27, 28, it would have been an increase of about $500,000 regarding LCFF. The state did a little something different this year. The 2.87 is the statutory COLA. The state provided an augmented COLA, which provided an increase on top of the statutory COLA. So the augmented and the funded COLA for LCFF is actually 4.31 for next year. That augmented COLA has some strings attached to it. There's a new law that is working itself through the legislature related to Pregnant Leave Disability Act. And so that's going to have some costs associated with it. So those are the connections with the increase or the augmented COLA. With the 4.131 COLA, that would generate in year 26, 27 about 1.5 million in additional LCFF dollars. And then in year 27, 28, 1.8 in additional LCFF dollars. Next slide, please. Okay, so you may recall at second interim, we presented two versions of the multi-year projection, an official and a potential version. The potential version identified revenues that were included in the governor's January budget proposal, but we did not include it in the second interim per SDCO guidance. Go back, please. Another one. Okay. So those revenues includes the following. The first one is the ongoing AB 602. This is related to the special ed funding that President Horner alluded to earlier in the meeting. At the governor's budget proposal in January, there was an increase for their districts of about $595,000. That change went up to $3 million at the May revise. The second bucket of money was the one-time, or is the one-time Student Support Professional Development Block Grant. At the governor's January budget proposal, the district had estimated that it would receive about $3.7 million for the next fiscal year. That amount increased to about 6.8 when the May revise came up. Next click, please. The third bucket of funding is related to the one-time Learning Recovery Grant. The amount didn't change from January to May. And just a side note, all these buckets of money will be included in the proposed budget for next year. Next click, please. And the reason for that, why we're including all these revenues, is that we really feel confident that all these are going to materialize when the budget get approved by the state in late June. One thing I want to highlight is that the governor's actually, or the state, is under appropriating Prop 98 about $3.9 billion. So, as mentioned earlier, both the Senate and the Assembly really opposes under appropriation. And there's a lot of educational coalition that also is pushing a lot of pressure for the state to release this fund to school districts. Next slide, please. So again, why we feel confident, School Services California, which is a very reputable firm who works closely with the state and their budgets, did their own risk analysis in terms of whether these fundings are materialized. So I won't go through these entirely, but these are just notes for your reference. Next slide, please. So the next few slides is just really a recap of all the multi-year projection that was done at adopted budget, unaudited actuals, first interim and second interim. They're there for your review. But if we can skip to slide 11, Claudia. Okay, so slide 11 shows the impact to the multi-year projection based on the second interim report itself. And so as you can see, the first impact that we show here is on the first orange line. This is the increase in LCFF dollars. You see that that first really year of increase incurs in 26, 27, and then it compounds into the out years. The special ed money that we receive, about $3 million a year, increase from the current level, starts in the years 26, 27. The special ed money actually essentially goes to reduce the contribution that the district's making from the unrestricted general fund into the restricted general fund. If you look at that line, you'll see that this year we're spending about, or the contribution amount is about 18.3. With the additional funding itself, it drops to about 15.2 in contributions. And moving forward, that contributions will maintain because this funding is actually ongoing. This third orange line represents the one-time discretionary grant, and also the learning recovery grant. Again, the one-time discretionary grant is about $6.8 million, and then the learning recovery grant is about $728,000. So these are restricted dollar in nature, so the revenue will be recorded in the restricted general fund, but our plan is to transfer expenditures to utilize these funds. Since the one thing I want to highlight here and note is that, the discretionary funds actually is about almost double from what, we're getting this year and what was projected in January. So the plan here is actually hopefully to spread out that $6.8 million over a 3-year period. We're showing a 2-year spend down schedule here, just because our multi-year only goes out to 27, 28. But when you see the budget next month, when we present the budget, you'll see that $6.8 million spread over 3 years, so we can effectively utilize that money in a more strategic way. And then all the amounts in the yellow area, those were already included in our second interim report. Next slide, please. So for ease, what we put together here is really a summary of what really happened this year, starting with adopted budget. And I want to draw your attention to the last column here. So at adopted budget, when we present that in June, our projected reserve in year 27-28 was slightly over 3%. At unaudited actual, it actually went up to about 6.78%, due to some savings that was realized when we closed our books. At first interim, I want to highlight that at that time, we implemented about $2.5 million in ongoing savings that happened immediately in this current year in 25-26. And so at first interim, our projected reserve for year 27-28 is 10.70. At second interim, I want to highlight that we implemented an additional $1 million in savings in year 25-26, and then identified 2.1-ish million in savings starting in year 26-27. And our projected reserve at that level, or at that time, was 10.7. The second interim with the potential money had the same reduction plan, but included the potential revenue. So you'll see that in year 27-28, projected reserve is 14.
Iban a pedir dinero for the taxes, and it didn't pass.
You have a friend, apparently.
And lastly, with the new May revised numbers, you'll see that our projected reserve in year 27-28 is 23.76. Next slide, please. So next steps, I mentioned before that we'll be conducting a public hearing and presenting the proposed budget in June. Just want to highlight that, we're still in negotiation with all of our bargaining units and have not settled yet for the upcoming fiscal year. Again, staff will continue to identify ongoing structural efficiency, whether it's savings, whether it's reductions, whether it's shiftings. And then, we're waiting for where the state's going to land in about a month. And so as new information become available, we'll certainly bring more updates to you. With that, I'll take any questions that you might have.
Please, Trustee Altman.
Thank you. So for the upcoming $2 million in cuts, has that been identified? How, I know there's 8 teacher positions, I believe. What else is getting cut?
So the $2.1 million in reduction was actually already implemented will be identified and will be implemented in the budget proposal.
And
was-
will we know what the identifications were? What is
Yes,
being cut?
yes, we'll break that into details in terms of when we present our public hearing proposed budget next month.
Okay, 2 more questions, and they're not that long. So are we still looking at an additional 2 million cutting next year, or is that now off the table? It looks like it's still on the table.
Yeah, our plan, like I mentioned, we're still going to look at the structural efficiency. That was our plan initially. I mean, we'll reevaluate in terms of where our financial position is and where the board's reserve policy lands. So it's an
Okay,
ongoing
right
process.
now it
and-
is in there.
Right.
It's in there as another $2 million. And when will we know when the block grant happens or not? If it's medium risk.
If it's, so it's identified as medium risk, not on the aspect that, the grant will actually be approved. There's some conversation about the allocation methodology that the state are negotiating right now. So the amount itself, it could vary a little, but in terms of the funding itself, it's very low risk.
Thank you.
And if I could ask a clarifying question, so there's a risk that the number may change. What's the risk that it'll just disappear?
Very low, slim to none.
So it might go up or down
Yeah.
10 or 20 percentage points from where it is based on those, I mean, and now we're reading other people's minds at a distance, so that's kind of hard.
Yeah, in the business world, within education, we don't see a lot of risk in what was proposed in the May revise, and mainly because of the $3.9 billion that the state is currently still holding on to. And so, roughly school services did an estimate, that's about $694 per ADA, if that money was actually appropriate to school districts across the state.
Please.
Assistant Superintendent Chang, I want you to remind the board the millions of dollars that you identified in ongoing savings. I don't think you're getting enough credit for that.
Well, there's a long list. If you go back to to one of the slides, it's the summary of the, and I can kind of give a breakdown of that.
Go back.
Go back 2 slides. Yes, so here in red, at first interim, the main savings were really shifting some of our positions in the unrestricted general fund to restricted resource. And one of the buckets that we were using was the routine maintenance account, where every districts are required to contribute 3% of their budget just for maintenance purposes. And so we saw an opportunity that that money wasn't used as effective as it could, because it was generating, carryovers to the tune of about $2.4 million. And so at that point, we decided that it was a better use of that money if we were paying all of our maintenance folks from that fund itself. So the majority of what we did in shifting those funds is covered in that $2.5 million. And then a second interim, we actually went through, a various of the department budget, particularly in their discretionary budget, the supplies and contracts. And we were able to identify about $1 million in savings that would be reduced in the current fiscal year, 25-26. And then the 2.6 was the list that included, staffing our classes more efficiently. We froze a couple positions. And I believe we reduced a couple positions that were, no longer needed. So in total, we reduced about $3.5 million in fiscal year 25-26, and an additional 2.1 starting next year. So the grand total is about $5.6 million.
So I want to publicly thank you. I know everything that you did behind the scenes on those structural efficiencies unfortunately gets lost in some of the noise. And so I want to bring the volume down and really thank you publicly for these ongoing savings. And I know that we're going to continue to look for additional structural efficiencies, and our goal is to follow through on those $2 million, Trustee Altman. We want to continue to look at ways to cut back on costs, but so that it does not affect our students' instructional experience. And I want to also highlight that we're not in declining enrollment. I know there was a comment that was made out there. We are not closing schools. We are not taking away programs. We continue to provide a robust educational opportunity for all students. And I want to thank the team for continuing to ensure that that's the North Star for us as a school district. And that is a big saving. So thank you again.
Thank you. Other questions? Trustee Gardner?
Yeah, hi, thank you. I think, how do I say this? The disconnect for me at times has been, it's hard to acknowledge savings when we're really not truly clear what it is that you move money from the restricted budget or the unrestricted budget to the restricted budget, and then there's maintenance, but then we were told by the Ricky Carrillo that there's leaking roofs. So, I'm really struggling with how to put all these pieces together and fully understand what it is we're trying to tell the public. Because there's very little transparency for the board. I would like to even know, when we do, for my work, I sell businesses for a living, and when we appraise the businesses, if we don't understand the P&Ls, we'll ask for the general ledger, which is the checkbook register for the seller, and then we ask clarifying questions and follow up on that. We're supposed to have this on June 12th, the budget committee, it's meeting. I'd like to have us be anchored in our discussions so that we can fully appreciate and understand what these savings are and how they relate to the overall picture.
Can I respond?
So, June 12th, you're having a budget committee meeting, correct?
June 12th, yes.
June 12th, yeah.
Yeah.
You've had a couple of days of the budget committee, 3 members on this board sit on that, and you went line by line on everything in our budget, right? Line by line. I don't know how much more transparent that gets.
I was there.
Line by line.
The 5,000s wasn't very transparent. And we didn't we don't know the checks that are being written, the warrants, if you will, I guess they're called warrants in the district, that we don't see. We don't even know what those are. That's a whole nother bucket that is kind of like a mystery, like, what is that? Is my question not making sense to you?
I'm sorry, I'm not grasping kind of either a comment or a question.
I think that's what I'm struggling with as well, because I'm not understanding, again, you're talking about all the savings, well, then can you please identify it? Like, for example, when we have the committee meeting, show us where in those line by line categories that we're talking about.
All those details were provided in the presentation at first interim and second interim.
So it sounds like you can have a look at those again when you're all together on June 12th.
Yeah, I think that would be a very good idea.
Okay. Anything else? So seeing no others, then I'll just add to my thanks and again emphasize the importance of advocacy. It's very interesting that the County Office of Ed only a few months ago said, no, don't believe the governor's numbers, but just so people understand what changed. The state has continued to bring in far more money than they were expecting. And people are being cautious, and being cautious financially is a good thing. But why the May revised numbers from all the experts that advise us, like capital advisors, like CSPA, there's a whole alphabet soup of organizations out there, is that most of the changes are based on At the state level, cash in hand. Cash has been coming in at a far more rapid clip than they anticipated. And the legislative analyst office and others, it is partly their job to say, well, sometime, things are going to turn bad. Don't count on it. Be careful. And that's the message that continues to come out. And at some point, they'll be right. 2008, 9, 10 was the last time that happened. It will happen again. But, contrary, I remember, COVID was going to crash us. Some of us were here for that. And then, one after another. Eventually, it will happen. But right now, at least for the year that's closing out and the year ahead, the state budget is looking very solid. And the voters on Prop 98 said you have to spend 40% of that on K through 14, so. Trustee Altman, are you bonking your head, or? I'm done. Well, we don't actually, at study sessions, which this actually is, we don't have a new agenda item?
So I have a comment. So just to recap, it was doom and gloom when we adopted the budget and people were screaming 3% reserves in 2028. And now we're at 23.76, correct?
Right.
And how much more money are we getting for 25, 26, just a dollar figure in terms with the May revise from the governor?
So the May revise is actually for the upcoming school year?
For next year.
Yeah, yeah. So how much different, what is the difference again? Just dollar amount?
Dollar amount, if I was to break it into buckets, for LCFF is about $1.5 million. For special ed, AB 602, it's about $3 million. Those are ongoing funds. For the one-time discretionary grant, that's $6.8 million. And then for the learning recovery grant, $728,000.
Okay, thank you so much. This guy's not falling. I know.
Trustee Gardner, and then we will wrap up.
So just, again, try and be crystal clear, is those monies that you just mentioned for the May revised, that's just for our district?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's just kind of interesting how all the math works out. When the state spends around 10 billion more to public education, it just worked out around 10 million for us. That's just how all the windage and elevation and ADA and everything works out. So it's just move the decimals back and forth. All right, seeing no other questions or comments, the meeting is adjourned at 9:26.